Buenos días, lo logramos, señores. Es viernes, hay Fórmula Uno, hay muchísimas cosas pasando y creo que se va a poner bueno este fin de semana. Pero lo más importante de todo, antes de empezar a analizar el mercado, es, se vienen las elecciones en Estados Unidos. Estamos muy cerca de ellas y por ende tenemos que preguntarnos, ¿estamos al final de esta gran subida o no? Vamos a analizar qué exactamente necesitan los índices importantes y las cosas importantes que a todo el mundo le gusta ver para ver qué es lo que necesita para seguir siendo alcista o para ser bajista. Y así puedes saber tus números sin preocuparte, sin estar pensando en absolutamente nada. Entonces, vamos a empezar de una buena vez. Obviamente a todos los miembros del canal de YouTube, por favor, pongan exactamente qué es lo que quieren que analicemos y lo vamos a analizar en estos momentos. Pero antes le voy a dar el análisis del viejo tío Salo, ¿no? Antes de empezar con los buenos, para que mínimo se queden con algo mal en la cabeza y después ya lo arreglan. Vale, ¿qué estamos viendo? El SP500. SP500 en semanal, damas y caballeros. Vamos a aprender nuestros indicadores, por supuesto. Tengo todos escondidos, así que perfecto. Aquí estamos, caray. Aquí estamos, ya listos. Ahora sí, el único que no me interesa tanto es el 34, pero podemos ver en el SP500, vela semanal, estamos en alto histórico. Acá no hay nada mucho que hacer. Lo único que no queremos perder es el 5,815. Si pierdes este nivel, muy probablemente vayas a rondar en este rango que queda abajo. Es más, me atrevería a quitar esta línea y simplemente este es el nivel que ver acá en el SP500, que está en altos históricos. El Nasdaq no está en altos históricos, pero quiere hacer un doble techo, que es un doble techo cuando el precio toca dos veces y luego se da para abajo. Eso es normalmente un patrón de reversión para todos ustedes que tal vez no lo sepan. Entonces, ¿qué estamos viendo con el Nasdaq en este momento? Este puede ser un nivel importante porque puedes ver que aquí hay convergencia de precio e intercambio. Entonces, me atrevería a poner una línea justamente ahí y es lo que no quiere perder el Nasdaq. El Nasdaq quiere cerrar arriba del 20,290 para ser alcista y poder continuar su movimiento al objetivo de nuevos altos históricos y tal vez crear ese doble techo, pero perder esta línea muy probablemente nos pondría en este lugar, en los 19,674. Así que importante el nivel donde está en este momento el precio. ¿Qué me dices del Dow Jones? Alto histórico también. Ya voy a eliminar mis canales que también funcionan, pero me gusta más así. Yo creo que aquí todavía hay más rango de juego en el Dow Jones. El Dow Jones está haciendo alto histórico, una vela que no se ve topera para nada y estamos diciendo preocupados, no tanto preocupados, pero poder perder nivel importante sería aquí donde también hay convergencia con el promedio de las 9, donde son los 42,098. Queremos aguantar este nivel, estamos en altos históricos, no hay más que decir, ¿no? Mucha gente le da muchas vueltas a eso. El Russell 2000, el Russell está rompiendo esta resistencia que habíamos puesto, así que interesante, no está ni cerca de altos históricos, lo sabemos, el Russell viene desde acá, pero tienes esta ruptura a la alza de la tendencia bajista, lo que probablemente nos va a dictar bueno, va a ser un alto histórico acá. Vamos a poner nuestra línea en los 2,458 y qué tan lejos estamos. El Russell 2000 todavía tenga este chance para correr acá 7%. Nada mal para un índice y sobre todo cuando volteamos a ver cruce plateado, lleva fuerza esto, el promedio de la 100 se va a flipear al 200, que tiene mucho sentido. Esto se ve bien. Siguiente objetivo a romper son los 2,298 y de ahí podemos decir que vamos a ir a buscar este alto, pero antes nos vamos a encontrar un tope por acá en el 2,347 más o menos. Así que esta zona es interesante. ¿Qué es lo que no quieres perder? En el Nasdaq, en el Dow Jones no quieres perder este nivel de acá, el de los 2,127. Si pierdes este nivel, podrías considerar que vas a retestear esta línea una vez más y esto completamente pudo haber sido una ruptura falsa a la alza y ser bajista. Así que pongan bastante atención. Este es el nivel importante donde está la línea verde, acá en los 2,127 para que lo puedan ver bien. Vale. De acá vámonos al dólar. Estoy muy contento porque he estado pegándole a todos mis objetivos. A los que han estado aquí lo han estado viendo. Tenemos al dólar en el 103, 450 y 541. Yo tenía mi objetivo a llegar para el DXY, que es el índice del dólar, en esta línea verde. Entonces estamos justamente arribita de ella. El dólar se ve alcista, va a encontrar resistencia aquí en el nivel de los 104,18. 0.18 y probablemente se vaya a pelear con esto. Ahora, ¿qué tenemos? El dólar está a punto de retomar el nivel de los 55, estamos por arriba del 9, del 21, así que vamos a poner atención porque el dólar tiene cara que quiere subir y cuando el dólar sube es bajista para todos. Ahorita vamos a analizar Bitcoin, no se me preocupen y todo lo demás, obviamente con los buenos, solamente cosas importantes. El petróleo sigue siendo de las suyas. Sigue jugando con las emociones de todo el mundo, creando estos bajos, 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 bajos más bajos, bajos más bajos, altos más bajos, y tiene cara que se va a recargar en los 62, en los 66.52. Ahora déjenme pongo mis indicadores. Sí, porque vas para abajo. En esta zona tienes que tener un rebote, va a haber una ruptura bastante fuerte al siguiente nivel para abajo, pero personalmente me cuesta trabajo pensar que el petróleo va a caer abajo de los 66 porque es la cosa más manipulada del planeta. Ahora, la señal de todo viene acá con el oro, la gran devaluación de nuestro dinero y nuestro poder adquisitivo, lo que nos está diciendo que estamos absolutamente cocinados y vamos a vivir más devaluaciones. Mi objetivo en el oro eran los 2.707, estamos en 2.711, ya lo pasamos justamente en esta línea verde. Y está en altos históricos. El alto histórico que acaba de poner es 2.718, $10 más arriba de lo que yo pensaba. Nada mal. Ahora, ¿se va a dar la vuelta o algo así? No nos sorprendería si viene a buscar la zona de los 2.600 una vez más, donde hay bastante confluencia, tal vez los 2.621, yo me atrevería a poner otra línea acá. Este rango sería válido, eliminaría esto en este momento y esto sería parte del retesteo, porque si está rompiendo a la alza y viene a volver a bajar a esta línea, importante poner atención a esta línea. Siempre y cuando el oro no baje de los 2.621, se ve bien. Y ahorita mi primera, y esta línea es completamente inventada, era simplemente un objetivo, la de los 2.707, así que no le pongan tanta atención por ahí. Y el superpeso que llegó ayer a los 20 por dólar, va a continuar este movimiento a la alza, está bien recargada en el 9, tenemos un cruce plateado. Estas son tablas semanales, así que pongan mucha atención a ello, es bastante importante, diría yo. Eh, el movimiento del dólar contra el peso es literalmente subida, bandera alcista, subida, bandera alcista, subida, bandera alcista, y es una consolidación brutal de precio, lo que nos dice que probablemente, bueno, no probablemente, nuestro siguiente objetivo es el 2063 y de ahí los $22. Sí, una vez que rompamos esto, nos vamos para arriba. Pero bueno, sin más ni más, vámonos a darle a las tablas. Les traigo acá estos monstruos a Farhan y a Alex. Vamos a empezar con todo esto. My boys, good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty well.
I'm doing good.
Are you motherfuckers ready for this?
Oh
Let's
yeah.
get it.
Let's see. All right, I got SMLR. That's the first one, SMLR. And the second one is Bitcoin. So let's do SMLR and Palantir, and then we'll jump into Bitcoin.
All right, cool. I'll do Palantir.
All righty. Market's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's essentially just been bullish consolidating, waiting for that 69K. Beautiful number.
Look at this. That's Oklo. If you were a degenerate and bought right here, not even the bottom, you're at 182% in just a month and a half.
Oklo, what is that?
Sam Altman's nuclear energy play.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and I see oil is kind of taking a hit today.
Wow, massive God candle.
Yeah, this is insane. And it's going to break through this and just going to make an all-time high probably today.
How much of a percent is that one candle?
This one, let's see. It's a weekly. From bottom to top, just 104%.
Holy shit, 1 week.
In just 1 week. And this is closing in 6 hours and 12 minutes.
Damn, it closes like that, shit's gonna lie.
Here we go. All righty. We're ready, sir.
SMLR, Semlar Scientific.
Let's see.
Medical supplies or medical specialties.
People love investing in medical stuff in this show.
Interesting, because medical usually is a money printer. So why is this shit going down?
Let me see. It doesn't say anything. Well, it seems like their revenue, their income statement absolutely dropped.
This shit is on a monthly downtrend. You get a high, you get a low, you get lower high, lower low, your next lower high. So what's coming next? Another lower low. As of right now, we're still at the bottom 38.2%. If we do close like this, we have more of a probability of going up to retest the median. What I like to see is the median and the 100 EMA are lined up right next to each other. So that would be a perfect retest of the median and the 100 EMA. Possibly wicks a little bit higher to test the 21 EMA because we do have a silver cross to the downside. That would be a nice place to reject. What I would be looking for, anywhere near this 100 to 21 EMA would be an entry for a short. And then stop loss would be any close above this 55 EMA, which is currently at $41.35. So that is a pretty wide stop loss. So that's from around like $34 all the way up to 43. So I would personally say have this as more of a spot trade instead of like something that you would do on options or leverage. But you would have more of a probability as of right now to retest this area right here, 100 and median. And the same thing is what the HBDR momentum and the volatility are telling you, because momentum is pointed up while volatility is pointed down.
Wait a second, sir. I think your microphone is off.
I don't think so. The light is green.
Oh, there you go. Maybe just get it closer to you. I'm sorry. It just sounds like you're so far.
What was the last part you heard?
That's perfect. I got lost just on the thought, so I'm sorry. Just my weed brain. No, we heard everything. It's just it sounded a little faded.
Right. So the setup we have right now, which supports that idea, is that the momentum is pointed up while volatility is pointed down. So that gives you a statistical probability of retesting the median. As of right now, that median is right next to that 100 EMA. So it would be a retest of both. It would fulfill this while momentum resets, and then we'd have enough to, after we reject the median, for momentum to turn back down and break into the bearish control zone once again, while volatility starts ticking up at that point. Quarterly is looking pretty bad as well, but quarterly is giving the same picture as the monthly, where we're holding the bottom 38.2%, and as long as we're holding it, we have a probability of retesting the median. As of right now, the quarterly momentum is also pointed up on the HPDR while the volatility is going down, which is the same setup of retesting that median around $31.75. That lines up with our monthly as well, right up to the monthly 21. Weekly, as of this point, has retested the median and it's rejecting it for now. There's 6 hours and 9 minutes left to go. If the weekly closes like this, you'd have more of a probability of coming back down to retest this bottom 38.2, which is right now at like $24 and very nice, 69 cents. And right now, the setup for the weekly is the same as the monthly, where momentum is up and volatility is down, which gives you a test of that median, which we've already tested now. So this is the same idea that I'm having for the monthly, is that which was played out on the weekly, that we retest the median, get a sharp projection from there, and then get our move down, which is what we're seeing on the monthly as of this moment. The monthly right now on the jewel is trying to switch around to cover on from a dark blue to a white to a cyan light blue buy, but it is approaching this pink, which should act as resistance, which is what we're seeing right now on the weekly. The same thing lines up with the median, where we're rejecting from the median and finding that as resistance. 5-day currently is above the median though, so that's a little bit of hopium that we could get this move down and get a bounce somewhere around $24.80, which would be the 5-day median. That's somewhat hopium, but and if we do move up, we should expect this 21, because we already tested the 21, this 55 to be resistance, which is around $30.90. Yeah, $30.90. I would expect that to be resistance, and then get our move down from there. The 2-day is also looking a little bit more bullish, because 2-day is now on an uptrend after we close over this previous lower high, and we're getting a little bit of a correction after this doji candle. So what I would expect on the 2-day is to statistically come back down to retest this 38.2, which is at $25.30. And since HBR momentum is still pointed up, or volatility is starting to tick down, but the moving average is still pointed up, I would expect that to hold as somewhat as support. Because if this does not hold as support, then we're gonna, whatever short-term bounce ideas we have are going to be out the window, and we're going to have probability of coming back down towards $22.50. But this, unless this blue area holds. If this area holds, then we should expect a higher move up to retest this 200, which is right there around that $31 area. Should be a retest of the monthly 21 as well. Right now, daily is looking a little bit less bullish since the daily closed well within the blue 38.2 zone. We opened below the median, we retested it, and now we're rejecting it. So if the median does reject on the daily, gives us the probability of coming down to retest this 21 again. And since we've already tested this 21 1, 2, 3 times, very likely it breaks on this one, and we come back down towards this 50%, which is right now at like $25.20. And the daily HPR momentum is telling us the same thing, where momentum is starting to shift down. That would support the idea of coming back down towards 50%. Check the RSI. Nothing really. On the quarterly, we are seeing a volatility start to shift down very heavily. So we could expect to see that bounce towards like that $31, $34 target for mean reversion, because we had volatility shift to the upside as we were moving down. So now as volatility is going down, we can expect sideways or a mean reversion. Monthly right now has confirmed hidden bearish divergence, which is still active from this previous lower high right here on the 3rd of June in 2024. And now we've tested the first target, the easy target, which would have been the middle of the RSI zone. That one is currently at $26.35. But our next, but since it's still looking like it's going to reject and go down from there after we make our consolidation and reset our volatility, our next target is going to be the bearish control zone, which right now the bearish control zone sits, and this number is going to go up, so take this with a grain of salt. But this number is currently $6.98. It should go up by a decent amount though when it actually does play out. Nothing on the weekly. 5-day on the other side though does have confirmed bullish divergence in the bearish control zone right here at this point. This point actually within the bearish critical zone. But as of this moment, we've already hit the easy target, which was the edge of the bearish control zone, and for now we're rejecting it. So basically, it's not able to get enough bullish momentum to get out of the bearish control zone. Right now, the number to get out of bearish control is $29.24. So as of this moment, we are about like $3 below that, and we're getting another close in five more days. So this is a fresh bullish divergence. So at this point, we could, if we close over, this number is $25.37. We're very likely to exit that bearish control zone and retest this 100 or at around $34, which is the same as our monthly 21 EMA. And on the 5-day, the VMP, the jewel oscillator of it is starting to flip back around and turn into that light blue cyan buy, and it's within the bearish control zone as well. The first time it flipped around, it was not able to break this pink, and it flipped back around, and it went back into the bearish control zone. This time around, it should be a much higher chance that it will break the pink, which should get us to that $34 number. 3-day also has a fresh bullish divergence within the bearish control zone, and it broke out of the bearish control zone. It tapped the neutral zone, but it rejected the first time around. That one is at $28.31, but now it's still curved upwards. So it should get another try, and this time very likely it will break through and head for that bullish control zone. This number is going to go down in the next 4 days and 7 hours, and it's probably going to take longer than that to play out. But that number is currently $35.51. Lines right up with that monthly 21 for that monthly silver cross. 2-day has a bullish divergence in the bearish control zone. We've already broken into the bullish control zone. Now we're moving down and testing the bottom of the bullish control zone. And right now we're gonna stay within bullish control on the 2-day as long as price is above $26.07. And as of right now, we're about 21 cents over that. And the daily doesn't have much. So as of this moment, we do have a couple of drives of bullish divergence on the lower time frames, which should give us enough momentum to go up and retest that monthly 21 for that monthly silver cross to the downside. And then from there, I would expect the monthly downtrend to take over and price to continue to go down and make another lower low.
Makes perfect sense, senor. Thank you so much. And obviously, we'll do Bitcoin right after this. Thank you. Perfecto. I got you, son. Alrighty, ahí les va. Tenemos SMLR, que es Similar Scientific, que les encanta a todos ustedes entrarle a cosas de medicina. Así que aquí lo tenemos para todos ustedes. Esta es una gráfica de 3 meses. Cada uno de estas velas son 3 meses. Y podemos ver que el promedio de las 9 bajó debajo del 21, que es el amarillo. Eso nos indica debilidad en el precio. Hemos visto esta caída. ¿Qué es lo que estamos haciendo en patrones? Sencillo. Vienes de un tope. Vienes de básicamente alto a este alto más bajo. Este fue un alto más alto que este y este bajo es más alto que este. Pero lo que estamos haciendo en realidad, porque estás viendo en temporalidad grande, es una continuación del movimiento para abajo, porque esto es una bandera bajista, lo que estás viendo justamente en este momento. Pero nada nos dice que antes, en temporalidades más cortas, no podamos tener un zampompazo. Tuviste un cruce plateado acá, lo que normalmente te dice que probablemente vayas a venir a testear el área de el 9 o hasta el 21, y el 21 está en 33.85. Lo que nosotros esperamos, sobre todo viendo la semanal, de acuerdo a todos los indicadores de volatilidad de Farhan, pueden ver acá cómo creamos este alto, un alto más bajo, tienes este bajo, pero aquí creaste un bajo más alto. Lo que nosotros pensamos que va a pasar con el precio es, estás justamente aquí encima o jugando con la zona del 9, es muy probablemente consolidación alcista hasta esta zona donde está el promedio de las 100 más o menos, que es por ahí de los $34, y de ahí poder continuar el movimiento a largo plazo, que será para abajo. Así que temporalidades cortas, algo alcista, simplemente un retesteo de estos cruces plateados de ahora sí que los niveles que normalmente todos tenemos que estar al pendiente de, porque es donde retesteas en esas zonas. Y a largo plazo continúa siendo bajista esto. Así que si estás metido en ello, no quieres perder básicamente el nivel de los 25.40. Bajando el nivel de los 25.40 se empieza a ver mal la cosa y definitivamente no quieres barrer estos bajos en los 19.27. Tu invalidación de esto es simplemente perder los 21.88. Vas para arriba, acá a la zona de los 34, es lo que creemos que va a pasar primero y después continuar para abajo. Pero todo puede cambiar, ya lo saben. Estén pendientes. Vamos a ver Palantir y ahora nos metemos a Bitcoin para todos ustedes. Palantir.
Nice. So Palantir, just like we talked about a while ago, actually, it's looking pretty good. Now at major resistance, though, as we see here, we basically haven't tested these highs since basically the beginning of Palantir made this epic rally near the in 2021. So now we have to be more in defense mode, in my opinion. And I think patience will pay greatly because, in my opinion, I think we should see some pullback here. It's pretty simple. If Palantir starts closing weeklies back, above this 40, call it $45, then to me, yeah, that'll be very bullish because what we're doing there is we're flipping this high that was formed in January 2021 into support, something that Palantir has just been doing. I mean, it's literally just been going up only and flipping last major resistance into support, something that we would expect to happen in bull mode markets. And so overall, I think right now, the best thing, if you're not positioned in Palantir, is to wait. I think if you are positioned and you're in nice profits, we are at a major point now in the chart. And this was the last major rejection zone before we basically broke down. Now, do I think we're going to break down like this from here? No, but, a pullback to this $35, $34 zone wouldn't surprise anyone, especially when we see this 9 grinding up, and this is closing today in 5 hours and 57 minutes. So, ideally, we'd want to see seeing how Palantir reacts to this 2-week EMA 9, any kind of tap on it has just kind of been an opportunity. And then, in bear markets, it just rejects it heavily. And so it's very simple for me. I want to see where this goes to on this closure. Ideally, it moves up into this range. It's already approaching it now. This is $33.30 to, what is this one? $35.15. So ideally, you'd want, if you're bullish as 9, to come up more into this range. You'd actually want to see a pullback here. We've had 6 weeks of just up only on Palantir. And the higher time frame momentum oscillators are basically approaching extremes. They're not fully there. There's not a lot of data with this, but for what I see on the daily and 2-day, it seems like we're already starting to curve down a bit. But overall on this time frame, we're still bullish, and that's why for me, I think patience will pay. I think the better move is just to wait and just watch this $35 zone, because right now, if we start looking and we actually start longing this here, we're now playing in the middle. I mean, you could make the argument we're going to try to flip this, basically this high here into support, but at that point, it's pretty aggressive. So I think the easier play would just be to wait. As long as the macro trend is up, which it is, then we just need to be on higher low watch. And currently, right now, and I think it's better on a monthly, honestly, because it's just we're simply we're simply going up only. So honestly, in my opinion, as long as Palantir is really not breaking like that $30 zone, in my opinion, I think then the trend will just stay intact, and anything in this period right here could just act as a macro higher low. And that's kind of why I'm just patiently waiting for this 35 to $33.30 zone. And that would be a sizable pullback from here, assuming we actually do tap this 45% resistance zone. Even tapping the first major level, that's a 21% down. So that's kind of what I'd be watching for. Ideally, that's what we get with Palantir. There's really not much to talk about when we're just macroly bullish on all time frames. It had a great quarterly. We see it perfectly bounced off this 9 on the quarterly, an area where Palantir generally acts. This area acts as a major opportunity, and so it was. And then we had the expansion from it, nice 46.8%. We do see though, and I don't hold a lot of weight on this, but it is just something to mention. We are at quarterly extreme. With momentum. So a pullback wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how aggressive it will be. And that's why I'm personally just sticking to the levels I see here. We know that this $35 zone is major resistance off this major deviation. And so it makes sense. And we also know this is major resistance as well. So now we're maybe in a new range. And that's kind of what I'll be watching for. The 2-week chart, I think it's less choppy and it gives you more clarity. And we can easily see here, if we start losing this 2-week 9, assuming it comes up to this, we'll start deviating this $35 zone. If we start losing this range, then I do think a bigger pullback will happen. And then I'm watching this nice psychological number right at $28. I think that'll be pretty important. We'll then have to be more on defense mode, because at that point, we're not breaking that $30 low. Which ideally bulls really don't want this low here to break. That was basically formed in August 26, 2024. That to me is looking like an area where if we do start breaking that down on even a week basis, we most likely will probably see a bigger breakdown on Palantir. But until then, we're very far away from that. And I'm really just watching $35. I don't want to long here. Don't really want to short here, because this is massive strength. But you really should be expecting some kind of pullback, if not the very least consolidation, maybe right around here, forming some kind of bull flag. But the way risk assets are going, the way Bitcoin's looking, the way DXY is going down, Palantir really has a lot of momentum, which means bulls can break this out and make macro new highs, essentially, especially when we know the trend is up. So with that said, personally, watch closely. It's very easy. The more aggressive long here would be if we start flipping this high, very simple, into support, just like we flipped these highs here into support. And that was just kind of an opportunity, a little, chop here with that. I'm almost sure that was the Japan counter trade FUD that actually happened. And then, we went off to the races after reclaiming it. So, I'm just watching another flip. It would make sense to me. It would reset the oscillators and most likely give us more momentum to break out another macro higher low, lines up with that 2-week EMA 9. That's kind of what I'm viewing, but we're not working with a lot here. For as much as we look at stock and chart wise, this doesn't really have a lot of data. And so what we have now is we have a stock that's kind of going up only. It's breaking out. It's now at major resistance, the only resistance we can use. And we're essentially now in kind of like that defense and wait posture. We see the last monthly in September healthily closed above $35. And we didn't fully even retest it yet. So that's why I'm more in the camp that we probably will flirt with this area. And you know, longing for another breakout. To me, it just seems kind of you know, immature, because the fact that we from this channel here have already moved 90%. You know, in a matter of literally every green month since essentially the last red month in May of 2024. Pullbacks constituted. So that's all I can really say with this chart. Watch the 35 to 33.30 zone. And ideally, it'll line up with that 2-week 9, and then giving us nice confluence to potentially an opportunity, while also giving us an easy invalidation, because we know simply, you know, if the 2 weeks been steadily holding this for, you know, many months now, if we start losing this while losing this $35 zone, it's probably going to pursue and do a bigger breakdown. And I then don't want to long, and all eyes on this $28 zone, which most likely, hopefully the 34 will line up, but maybe the 21 will. So that's kind of all I have with Palantir. I'm really just watching the levels. I wouldn't long here. Just patiently wait.
Nice. Very nice. And very easy to understand too. Simple, in a way, simple chart. Thank you, sir. Vale, estamos viendo Palantir, estamos viéndolo en una vela trimestral, damas y caballeros, pueden verlo acá. Obviously, we're doing Bitcoin right after, by the way. Podemos ver que estas velas trimestrales, el precio de Palantir, honestamente, pues obviamente es más relativamente nuevo. Empezó en julio del 2020, tuvo un alto histórico en 45, digamos, que es esta línea de acá, y ahorita estamos en 42, 41, después de haber tenido esta gran bajada y luego esta gran subida que literalmente por 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trimestres. ¿No? Este cierra en 2 meses, 14 días, pero casi 8 trimestres ha estado a la alta y cerrando positivo. Podemos ver que el promedio de las 9 en la trimestral está a punto de venir a esta zona de los 27 y es importante mantener eso en mente porque cuando volteamos a ver la mensual, podemos ver que los promedios están subiendo también, 9.21, estamos por encima, lo que nos dice que hay fuerza. Ahorita estás en una zona de nadie, no quieres abrir un long porque te puede rechazar el alto y puedes venir a consolidar, que en realidad si vemos la semanal, esta es una gráfica más sencilla de lo que, ahora sí que las más fáciles que hemos analizado en un rato. En la semanal te puedes dar cuenta, le gusta subir, pero también le gusta consolidar, subir, consolidar. Y ahorita lo que toca, porque estamos un poco extendidos en volatilidad y momentum, lo que queremos hacer es, o lo que creemos que va a pasar es, ¿podría el precio venir para acá? Puede darte un rebote tranquilo y empezar a consolidar por esta zona para su siguiente movimiento a la alza. ¿Qué es lo que no quieres perder? No quieres perder la zona de los 35. Si pierdes la zona de los 35, empiezas a ver que en la mensual estás perdiendo la 9. De ahí tendrías que ver la zona de los 32 y hasta el 27, donde probablemente el promedio de las 34 aparecería. Déjame ver. Ahí está. Sí, exactamente. Entonces, primero apostaríamos a que esta va a ser tu zona de consolidación, es lo que nosotros creemos. Esperamos no que pierdas esta zona de los, por ahí de los 37, de 37 a 35. Si llegas a tener ese breakdown, empezaríamos a buscar otro tipo de setups, pero por ahora tiene cara de que va a consolidar y continuar el movimiento para arriba. Cualquier oportunidad presentada en grande, y lo vería yo en la semanal, sería aquí, en el promedio de las 9. Si rompes el promedio de las 9 para abajo, el 21 sería tu máxima oportunidad. Si rompes eso para abajo, rompiste la tendencia, en mi opinión, pero tendríamos que ver dónde acaban estos promedios. Así que si eres alcista en Palantir, simplemente espérate a que esto llegue mínimo, a que tantito le baje de huevos el movimiento para poder comprar y aprovechar una oportunidad antes del siguiente movimiento. Ahorita esto te puede rechazar tranquilamente el alto histórico y mandarte para abajo. Entonces, mejor asegurarte que tengas una oportunidad de subida importante, ya sea de aquí, ponte tú, si entras en donde está el promedio del 9 hasta arriba, estás hablando de un 20% todavía. Así que paciencia a los toros alcistas en Palantir. Si eres bajista, puedes crear un short literalmente aquí en los 44, en los 45 y poner tu stop loss literalmente en 46. Si llega a romper eso, pues ya está creando un nuevo alto y probablemente vaya, aunque ya saben que al mercado le gusta joder. Vale, alrighty, Bitcoin. De Bitcoin.
We're going to have more Bitcoins than anybody in the world.
This guy is like, morning BTC, please. Thanks for everything you do. But I feel like we should have this one, Bitcoin, because I'm on the red.
I don't get it.
That means he's losing money.
Yeah, I mean, I get that part, but I don't get the whole.
Oh, maybe he's shorting
Who?
this person.
The
This way,
commenter.
it says
Oh,
on
in
the
the
comment,
comments.
it says BTC because I'm on the red. That means
Yeah.
Oh, I
I'm
didn't
losing
see
money.
that.
So please help me with Bitcoin.
Interesting. How are you losing money if it's going up? Are you shorting?
I don't. That's what I said. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Even
All
our
right, so-
salamis trade is going well.
Yeah, I saw that. Alex just told me to check the 2-day. 2-day on Solana looks pretty nice. It's turning
Yeah.
into a green. What do you call it? A wick.
Yeah. Well, I even back tested all the major moving averages and BWPs, possibly giving us a setup here soon.
Jules looking nice on that as well.
But we'll probably get into that. But I mean, I'm more on defense now because we are approaching major resistance now.
But on the we're going to start with the weekly on the HPDR bands. Right now, we are still above the median, and as long as we're above the median, we have a statistical probability of going to the top 38.2%. Right now, that level sits at 73,768. So basically, a retest of previous all-time highs. And as of this moment, the HPDR momentum is still pointing towards the upside, which gives us more of a probability of going up to test that 38.2% at 73,768. The jewel is now going above the pink, and it's about to exit the bearish control zone. On the next weekly open, very likely it's going to exit the bearish control zone. The last time it's ever flipped around in the bearish control zone and exited was here in October of 2023. And you guys remember what happened in October of 2023 when price went up vertical from $26,000 all the way up to $73,000, and it entered the bullish control zone. So very likely this time around as well, it's going to exit the bearish control zone and enter the bullish control zone. And then it's going to be a little bit stronger than that signal, because at that point the pink is going to cross over the yellow. At that time we already had the pink over the yellow. The pink crossed over the yellow right here in January of 2023 when we initially broke from the I believe 15 or 16,000 into the $20,000 areas. So this time around we're going to get that same type of significance when the pink crosses over the yellow. And let's switch over to CME real quick. CME is giving an even better picture right now, because CME is currently over this top 38.2%, and it's about to close in 6 hours and 44 minutes. The last time CME ever closed over the blue 38.2% was right here in February of 2024, when price was around $51,000, and immediately afterwards we went to new all-time highs at 73,415. So as of right now, and that was the 88.3% that we tapped. So if we close over this and we tap the 88.3% like we did last time for new all-time highs, that would be somewhere around, actually we tapped the 95%. So if we close at the 88.3%. So the 88.3% right now would be $103,000. My bad, 96,233, and the 95% is going to be 103,813. So if we do top out at the 95% like we did last time, that would be just over $100,000 at 103,813. That's assuming we close in 6 hours 43 minutes over that $68,120 number. We're only about $15 over that right now. That's not even a ball sack here. That's like a quarter of one. But currently the HPDR momentum on the CME weekly is pointed towards the upside, while volatility is supporting it as well. So that gives it more of a probability that we'll close over this 38.2% and end up starting that new uptrend like we did in February of 2024, when we continued from the 50s all the way up to the 70s. The jewel is currently above that pink as well on CME. Monthly on spot. The monthly is currently making its way above the 50% on the bottom. And as long as it's looking like this, you have a probability of going up to retest this top 38.2%. Right now, that top 38.2% lines right up with our previous monthly HPDR level or weekly HPDR level, which was 74,700. This is 74,400. So it's right next to each other with this bottom 38.2%. That would be a retest of new all-time highs. So likely we end up breaking through that and going towards the monthly median. On this next monthly open, this median is going to move. I don't know if it's going to go up or down. We have to wait and see. But as of right now, the retest of that median, if it were to do it within this month, would be 746. Very unlikely that it does it this month, though. Very, very unlikely. How's the quarterly looking now? Quarterly is looking very nice now. After that last doji that I put in, which ended up being green, and we held the bottom 38.2%. So as long as that's holding and we're getting a shape up like this, we have a probability of retesting the median. And as long as it happens within this period, in the next 2 months and 14 days, the median's at 113,000. That same number comes up again. But if it doesn't take this, or it doesn't happen in this quarter, this median is going to move on this next quarterly open, which I don't know if it's going to go up or down. We're going to have to see. 5 days looking very strong as well. It's like just like the weekly, but it's not quite over the top 38.2% like it is on the weekly. Last time we did that, closed over the top 38.2%, was back in also February of 2024, and the price was around $51,000, and then we moved up to 74s, and that was the 78.6%. So if we were to close over 68,997, so say $69,000, nice, on a 5-day closure, we'd have a probability of tapping the 78.6% in the next, like, let's say 2 months or so, which right now that is at $92,627. And as of this moment, the HPR momentum is still pointed up while volatility is supporting it, and the Joule oscillator is now entering the bullish control zone and getting over the pink and the yellow. On the 2-day, currently, we do have a silver cross that we confirmed right here. We came back to retest it, and now we're getting support off the 5, and we're about to close over this top 38.2%. We have 9 hours and 40 minutes to go. If we close over the top 38.2%, we'd have a probability of going up to test the 61.8%, which right now the 61.8% sits at basically right around new current all-time highs at around $73,000-ish. And right now our monthly, our 2-day HPR momentum is still pointed towards the upside, and the Joule is starting to curve back around and re-enter the bullish control zone and cross over the pink once more, and we're getting that light blue cyan color. The daily right now has several closes above the bottom top 38.2%, and we're basing off this 50%. So as of right now, as long as we hold this 50%, which is around 67,350, we have a probability of going up to test this 78.6. Right now, that 78.6 is right around $72,700. Let's check the monthly on Tether dominance. First, let's look at Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance was still moving up. So Bitcoin dominance did get its close over that 38.2%. So as of right now, we do have a probability of going up because this likes to tap the 100% area. And right now, the 100% is sitting at about, I don't think this is going to happen because it's so high up and it's going to break this downtrend. But right now, the 100% is around 76%. What's more likely is that it holds this downtrend and it taps the 88.3. And right now, the 88.3 is still significantly higher than we are now. So around 66 to 67% on Bitcoin dominance. And if that were to happen, that would be what we were looking for in Bitcoin, for us to hit significantly new all-time highs while altcoins struggle to keep up with it. All right. So what we see on Tether dominance on the monthly is what we like to see if you're bullish on crypto and you're bearish on Tether, is that we have 2 retests of the median, and both times we got a sharp projection and a move down. So as long as we get a move like that, we're rejecting the median and we continue to move down, we have a statistical probability of coming down to this bottom 38.2%, which right now is at 4.5%. And the significance of that would be that we'd break this meme line as well. So we have a higher probability of coming back down to retest this meme line, which is right around this 50%. That one is at 4.15%. And that would be a very significant drop percentage-wise on Tether dominance right now. That would be...
Oh, wow.
Right around like 29% at the maximum, and at a minimum it would be about like 21% down. That would be easily new all-time highs on Bitcoin if we were to get a 21% move to the upside. That'd be like right around $80,000, I believe. The weekly is now getting its breakdown confirmation about to happen in the next 2 days and 10 hours. If we were to close below this 38.2%. Right now we're below the 50% as well. So that gives us a probability of coming back down to this mean line, which right at the 78.6. And that one's right around 4.68 to like 4.67%. I wish it was just 0.002 higher. And then if we don't hold this mean line right here, we're going to end up coming down to this 95%, and that's our 29% move down, right around 4% on tether dominance. See how our HBR momentum is looking. And right now our HBR momentum is starting to support that idea as well. We're starting to shift down, and we're about to break into the bearish control zone, while volatility is going upwards and it's supporting that move towards the downside. Right now, 2-day as well is retesting. First, we closed below the 38.2%, then we retested it and rejected it. And as of right now, we're about to close below the 50%. So if that happens, we're probably going to break this previous low right here and end up going down to the 78.6%. And that would be around 4.8%-ish on tether dominance. But since we're so close to this meme line, we're probably going to end up coming down to that, which is the 88.3 at that 4.67% area. And the HBR momentum is starting to go sideways a little bit. If we hold this 50%, which is currently at 5.26%, we probably get a little bit of a mean reversion bounce to retap this 38.2% in this 100 EMA. But I would just be looking at that as another rejection before we end up going down. Because the jewel is right now giving us a fresh downwards curvature, and it's shifting into this dark blue cell. And we're about to break back into the bearish control zone. The daily is currently also rejecting this 5 EMA, and it couldn't even make it up to the bottom 38.2%. So as of right now, we should be looking at the daily 200 SMA, and I would expect some type of reaction there, at least a mean reversion bounce or something like that. Go back up, retest this 38.2%, and I would expect it to have moved down by that point to be a little bit lower, maybe around this area at 5.3, and then reject again, and then end up moving down towards the mean line. And what supports that idea is that HBR momentum on the daily is currently starting to flip up and is crossed over this moving average, while the volatility is moving down. So I would expect the next daily open for the ranges to move down and for the median to move down, because this setup will give us a statistical test of the median. Check the RSI.
Ding. Sorry, adding the special effects myself for you.
Ding, ding.
It's insane. I really used to.
Say it again.
I actually missed it too. Like I got used to it. Anytime he'd switch.
It was like a character in the show.
I feel like I was like in a science experiment. I reacted to hear it.
Or in an actual class.
Yeah.
Ding. Pay attention.
All right, so right now, weekly on CME, we're getting volatility expansion from how many periods? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't really count.
So 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we got six periods, 6 weeks of literally zero volatility. We're starting to expand from that, and now we've confirmed drive of bullish divergence within the bearish control zone. So our first easy target, which we're about to hit, is the edge of the bullish control zone, and that number is currently $71,950. So let's say $72,000, and then the next target after that is the bullish critical zone, which we're very likely to hit, because every single time we confirm divergence within the bearish control zone on the weekly, we always tap the bullish critical zone. This number will move down with every single weekly open, so don't expect this to be the number that's written in stone. But right now, this number is at $124,835. And we're also breaking above this meme line that I have drawn on CME weekly right here, which we're about to break this. That should give us a probability of, it's a meme line, so there's no statistics behind it, but we should retest this current all-time high at around $74,000. And the VMP jewel oscillator is starting to flip around, and it's getting above the pink. And on the next weekly open, it'll be within the bullish control zone. 5-day as well is expanding from 1, 2, 3, 4 periods of zero volatility, 20 days of CME trading, zero volatility, and we closed over this meme line as well. So that should theoretically let us retest current all-time highs, especially with the volatility expansion from 20 days of zero volatility. And now we're above the moving average as well on the volatility. Two-day currently has several drives of bullish divergence. 1, 2, 3 drives confirmed. And now we're within the bullish control zone. We're getting a little bit of a move down on the RSI, but price action is not moving down. So that should tell us that we probably have a probability of going towards this bullish critical zone. That number it's going to change in the next 6 hours, 32 minutes, but it currently is at $83,095.
Ooh.
Daily, nothing. Go back to the monthly and go to tether dominance with the RSI. Tether dominance is within the bearish control zone on the RSI. It tried to get out of bearish control zone. It failed. So that should theoretically give us a move towards the bearish critical zone, which doesn't even tell you what level that is right now because it's so low. This is impossible. So we'd have to wait until the next monthly or 2 monthly opens to see what that number is at. Weekly, no. 5-day does have confirmed multiple drives of bearish divergence on tether dominance. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of confirmed bearish divergence. As of this moment, we're bouncing off the edge of the bearish control zone, the number is at 4.83%. We haven't currently hit that yet on the price on tether dominance, but very likely as long as this, since we have this bearish divergence, we have a probability of going down first to that 4.83%. And then this number is going to change because it's going to take several candles for this to play out. But the bearish critical zone sits at 1.91%. This is probably going to go up towards the high 2%, maybe 3% area, which is still a very, very significant move on tether dominance. Two-day, no, that's invalidated. And daily currently has 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence confirmed on this lower high, this lower high, and this lower high right here. We've currently hit the easy target, which is the bearish control zone. Our next target is going to be the bearish critical zone. That bearish critical zone lines up with our previous number we looked at before at 4.86%. Oh yeah, that's one more thing. Momentum chart. So monthly is going to close in 13 days and 10 hours. And as of right now, we're at the edge of the bullish critical zone. As long as price is over 65,870, we're going to flip back around and we're going to maintain the bullish critical zone. The last time that's ever happened was over here in this area, where so let's see what price was doing. Whenever we ended up maintaining the bullish critical zone, price was at $573. Let's do a little bit of a drawing from there. And then we went up after we ended up flipping back around in the bullish critical zone.
Well, that's not going to happen now.
4,105. Yes, this is not going to happen because the market cap is so much lower. But would it be so much out of the question to see a 100% move from here with the same exact setup?
No.
And last time we had 4,000%.
No, I'd say that's within possibility.
Yeah, so we're about to get that same exact setup as we did back then when we got a 4,000% move. We're about to flip up back from there in the same exact area. And let's see how volatility was at that point. Volatility was right around the same exact point where we are right now. So we're about to get this, not only the momentum shifting up from the same area, but volatility expanding also from the same area. Weekly is going to stay to the upside as long as price is above 57,550, and we're currently about $11,000 above that. So crazier things have happened than an $11,000 move down in 2 days, but I would say it's unlikely.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed.
Even balls, although that's dangerous. If that ever happens to you, boys, go to the hospital right away. There are people that legitimately tangle their balls, and you don't understand. They pass out.
Like actually one of my fears.
Had that?
No, it's legitimately like one of my worst fears, that happening.
Oh, yeah. Your balls just tangling up and then you're just passing out. See, this is a science channel, not only a financial channel.
Yeah, exactly. An anatomy channel.
It also, yes. A lot of things.
After you watch a couple of these live, you're good to go take your medical exam.
Yeah, everybody knows that. I mean, all you need to do is recommend eating all bran in the morning for fiber.
Yeah,
if you're a
just
doctor.
be like eat oatmeal only and no meat for breakfast at all.
Good.
You get cancer.
Yes, you
get
don't
cancer.
want to get cancer with that meat.
Right.
It's just crazy that the cancer giving you meat is more expensive than all of the other food right now. That people must really want to pay the premium for the cancer.
For the death food.
If
Yeah.
you eat if you eat eggs and meat for breakfast, you're gonna get cancer. You're gonna get a heart attack. You're gonna get heart disease.
You're gonna overdose on cholesterol.
Yeah, terrible. Terrible.
I wonder when people are gonna realize that you actually need cholesterol to live.
It's so weird to me that no one knows that.
It's fucking hilarious. Where as of right now, we have a setup on the 5-day on Bitcoin. Where we went down to the below the 15%, and now we started expanding above the 15%. And since we're at 37.7%, we've already confirmed volatility expansion, and momentum is up as long as price is about $64,328. Oh, see, 64,000. Let's say $330 because this number keeps changing. As long as prices above this momentum pivot, we have an 100 because on CME we have different stats in spot. On CME, we have a 100% chance of a move of 30 to 35% towards the direction of momentum. Because we only have about 3 to 4 instances in the past, so it's not that much data to work on. But every single time this is played out. So right now, if we were to count volatility expansion from this point, price was at 62,500. So let's do a 30 to 35% move from 62,500.
Bitcoin breaking out, baby.
On average, that would put us at between $81,700 all the way up to like $85,000 for the average move. It's very likely you can do a lot more than 35% on this one go around. There's been instances where it's done in the 50s and 60% areas. I don't think it's going to do a 60% move from here right away, but I think 35 to 40% is very likely, and it's right around the average number. We're currently testing this knee line as well. So whenever we break this, we're very likely going to go to new all-time highs. 2 days giving us the same thing. Volatility is expanding and momentum is going to be fresh. It's going to be to the upside as long as price is above $65,000, and we're going to break into the bullish critical zone on a momentum. Last time we broke into the bullish critical zone, we ended up getting a move up from 64,300 all the way up to 66,500. So it wasn't that much, but at that point, volatility was also significantly higher. So it was all the way up in the 80% area. So we were likely to not get that much of a move. As of right now, volatility is half of that in the 40s. On the daily as well, we're going to stay up as long as price is above $64,228. So 4 hours as well to get our short-term momentum. And on the
so
on
you
the short,
want volatility to go with price, right?
Yeah.
You want it to keep going up. Like if it's at 42%, you want it to at least get to 77%. While it's going up, that means that it's pushing that price, right?
Yeah. So if volatility is going up, while price is going up, it's telling you that it's actually a real move to the upside.
Yeah.
It's not like a fake out or a corrective move.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
And on the 4 hour right now, to go down to the really short time frames,
Wow.
volatility is starting to expand again. It's above the moving average. It's getting about to confirm above 15%. We're already above 15%. And on this 4 hour close, above 15%, we're going to confirm volatility expansion. And not only that, momentum is going to flip back to the upside because they had flipped down on this consolidation. It's going to flip back up to the upside as long as price is above $67,875. So we're going to confirm that. We're going to confirm volatility expansion as well. The last time we had volatility expansion while momentum flipped back up was right over here whenever price was at 62,800, and we ended up moving from there all the way up to 63,400. I mean 68,400. So we're going to get that same type of move again statistically, which is what price? How much of a percent? I mean, that was about 9%-ish roughly move to the upside. So if we were to count 9% from here, that would, I'm guessing, be new all-time highs. Yeah, that would be roughly new all-time highs.
At least
So on this next couple of candles, I want to say in the next 2 days, 3 days, if this setup does confirm, we should be hitting new all-time highs. That would be by like Monday or Tuesday. Probably statistics. If you go by statistics, it would be Monday, because if you open up the statistics for it, let's see. Oh, wait, I don't have it on this chart. Indicators.
I mean, last weekend we had a nice pumperoo on the weekend, and I feel like we're heading towards the same place right now, unless something changes.
Oh, well, I can't find it right now. But
What's your indicator?
no, I just can't find it. I didn't want to waste time on it. So statistically, Monday is the most bullish day of the week. So it would make sense for us to hit new all-time highs on Monday for this setup to play out. But as of right now, the lower time frames are shifting back around, so telling us this consolidation phase and pullback is likely over very soon. And the higher time frames are telling us continuation towards the upside, especially based off of the HPDR on CME, which is currently well above the top 38.2%. And the last time we had that was in February, right before we broke out from the $50,000 area to the mid $70,000 area. So it's looking like the move we're getting right now is real, and it's going to be the actual breakout to new all-time highs, in my opinion.
Yeah, and seeing on time frames like the 2-day, the weekly, like all of the EMAs are literally on top of each other right now below price. So whenever I see that, that leads me to believe that there's an expansion move coming in too, along with when we're seeing volatility go up like this. It's looking good. It's looking fucking good. And our Solana trade is looking good. Really good. Hope that everybody on the fucking Discord went in and did their own research and got on the trade.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to start with tether dominance, because we're actually at a very, very important spot that kind of corresponds with what Faran is mentioning with tether. We're kind of at the make or break zone for tether dominance. And if we start really breaking down from this zone, we have a big drop to that 4.68% region. Why I'm showing tether dominance is it kind of corresponds with what I'm going to talk about today. We have to really watch this SMA 200 on the daily. We haven't tested it yet, and we've actually just been chopping around here. It's not bullish by any means, but I'm watching a scenario where we potentially could get some kind of mean reversion bounce at this SMA 200. I was expecting Bitcoin to already have hit 69K, but it could line up with us going to 69K major resistance, tapping this, and then maybe rallying back up to the 5.2% and flipping that into resistance. That's kind of what I'm watching. I'm still on the camp that tether dominance is looking very bearish, and it's looking like it really wants to break down. We definitely saw that basically on this major rejection weekly candle, rejecting that weekly EMA 100. And then, now this weekly is again at the make or break zone. It's already under all moving averages. They're clustering right at that 5.4%. telling me that it's major resistance at that point. So we're at a very, very important spot. And if we do end up breaking this mean diagonal range, I do think it's going to end up giving us that bigger move to that 73K. But until then, I'm more on the side of caution because, the fact that we honestly, from this point, reclaimed it, broke out, deviated it, reclaimed it again, and then went up, trekked up. We actually haven't tested it in a very long time since breaking above the SMA 200 on the daily since July 30th. And so I'm really eyeing this spot for a potential bounce on Tether, and that could line up with what I see on Bitcoin. This 2021 market cycle high is a major spot for Bitcoin. We talked about as long as Bitcoin is still above 65,600, we get a free ride to the 69K. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. That's why shorts here in this zone was illogical, especially when we know that the trend has already shifted after, breaking this last high here, and then especially on the weekly. And so what I'm watching now on Bitcoin, I think we should at least be slightly cautious to the fact that we are approaching major resistance, especially on a cycle level. In 2021, let me go back to my weekly here. In 2021, this was a pretty big zone to reject. So it's really easy for me. This is the last spot where bears really need to show up. It's a lot less choppier on the weekly viewing this 69K 2021 market cycle high. And so right now, currently, we're rallying up to it. The weekly is looking quite insane. It's looking very strong. Bears, in my opinion, would need to step up here. If they don't, and we start closing even dailies back above this 2021 market cycle high, again, just like when we were holding 65.6, this reclaim of the 2021 market cycle high of this rejection will give us a free ride to what Farn was mentioning, that 73K, which would be the next level for me. And that's why I'm more in the camp of waiting, because from now, I was watching on the Discord a pullback scenario to this white line. I really wanted to see that, this week. It got front ran. No worries at all. I thought this dump would have taken us a little more down to that 65.6, giving us a nice long entry of this, basically a flip of this resistance. But that just tells me that Bitcoin's really bullish. And so currently right now, I'm really cautious of the fact that we're at major resistance and we haven't hit it yet. And again, tether dominance hasn't hit major support yet on the daily. It's funny how that always happens. Tether dominance is at almost major support, and Bitcoin's approaching major resistance. And it's actually dramatic. It is, and it's actually a great confluence to the fact that, okay, cool, like if we actually start breaking down this diagonal and this meme line, not a good sign. And then if we actually start getting daily closures back under here, yeah, then to me, it'll start solidifying kind of what we see across the board, especially if we start reclaiming that 2021 market cycle high. We can't forget that Bitcoin on the 2-week is still giving us that massive setup, and it actually is only given it to us one other time. I have no idea what this diagonal is, but this setup right here only fired once in Bitcoin's whole history, and so this is something I'm watching, and it's still, it's starting to curve up, but it's not confirmed yet. 15% will be what we want. And so, this really could get quite interesting because from this
weekly's front running it, no? The weekly in BBWP seems like it's about to make the same move it did back then in June with was it the ETFs? Yeah. And then volatility just stayed down, and then boom, you had the expansion, and that took us all the way to all-time highs. And now you have stronger period of zero volatility right at the bottom, unless I'm just learning how to read this to myself. So, but now it's at 15%.
So you're right. We did actually in June, we did get the expansion. What
I find really helpful with the BBWP is to draw a horizontal line at 15%. Then you can always keep it visually.
Yeah, my 15% doesn't stay on the other charts, but for me right now, you're right. I mean, the weekly right now is giving the setup, and it is firing off, because currently it is above 15% now from actually hitting extreme lows. And so how we have to take that is very interesting to see that, because we could start getting a bigger breakout on Bitcoin, for sure. But, the 2-week is a lot bigger, and it's going to take more time, in my opinion. And you're 100% right. If the weekly starts firing off, and the momentum pivots are now up on the 2-week, and the weekly starts firing off, then it just could start bleeding into that 2-week firing off. And it'd be interesting to see that, because if the weekly is giving us a setup and then a 2-week, we know also on this 2-week, something I was going to mention, this is a lot less. We're basically at a lot less, way low volatility at 0% than last time in October, telling me that this move probably will be a lot bigger than even what we saw in October, which is actually kind of interesting because, we all know that move from October at this point, even from here to the wick high, essentially, or even to this yellow zone, gave us a 150% move. And so that would be kind of insane. But for now, we are approaching resistance, and I'm just being mindful of that because, to me, it seems like everyone on Twitter, everyone's quite bullish, rightfully so. And, I often ask myself, is it just that easy? I know Bitcoin likes the dirty dance, and I have to just ask myself that, is it really that easy where we're just going to blast the 73K from here? We really could. But as it stands now, I'm more on the side of watching this daily on tether dominance because this will be my key. This will be my guide. We start breaking down on tether dominance, and granted, it's not looking good. If we go to the 2-day, this isn't a healthy 2-day chart. This really could start breaking down for sure. But I'm just really being mindful of that 1-day SMA 200, in correspondence to the major resistance here. For me, I'm still eyeing this 65.6 being a potential pullback zone. For me, that'd be a daily retest of the 9. And it's lining up nicely with this major resistance at 65.6. We know this big breakdowns occur from the 65.6. And so it's nice to see that, the EMA 9 is supporting price while it's trekking up we are almost approaching extremes on momentum. So, it is just giving more signs that, maybe we consolidate here before blasting through. But, just like Farhan mentioned on the 4-hour, it is potentially giving us a nice setup here. So, for me, it's really tricky. I'm not really seeing things too clearly other than major resistance, major support. And it's really simple. And this is something I mentioned when we started to break out. If we start reclaiming that 2021 market cycle high, to me, that's another long trigger to 73, 72K, and possibly 80,000. That could be the first sign that we might actually go to 80,000, which is kind of interesting to say because just, like 3 weeks ago, it didn't seem like we were going to go to 80,000, so it's just funny how fast these markets are. We see it back in July, the major rejection here. I think this is when I was in, this was actually near Farn's birthday. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this rejection here, it's same thing happened. Everyone got bullish. We immediately trekked up. It was amazing. 80K, I even started to believe it slightly. But we just could not disregard this 2021 market cycle high. And that unfortunately led to a major rejection. So do I think that's going to happen now? I'm unsure personally because, things, when we started to break down here, the weekly was giving us the setup and it was actually starting to fire off, I believe. Let me see here. Because I thought to myself that was interesting. I mentally noted that. And like when we did break down, we did get above 15%. Let me just double check that. Yeah, we did. And this is like during the breakdown. Then we started to consolidate. And now we're getting, we're now, right at that 15% mark again. That's why I'm not like full on bull mode. We're about to break out because we saw it go above 15% during this breakdown, which was really something that was making me bricked up to the fact that we were probably going to test that 44K. And we didn't. And we consolidated it, went down a little bit more. And then now, potentially we're getting the expansion now. So it is just something to be mindful of, especially when, the weekly potentially could be firing out, but I'm just more all eyes on this 2 week. This 2 week is really something that is going to really guide us to this major move. And as long as we don't get chopped out before it fires off, then, then at the long, basically this 2 weeks giving us a generational trading setup. As long as we don't frick it up on the direction before it fires off, then overall, it basically, once it does fire off, gives you a free move up. There's no reason to feel like you're going to miss something. And I'm only saying that just because I used to feel that when I was starting to trade, where I just felt like I needed to be early. So overall, very strong, very strong. Bitcoin's very strong. I'm not bearish. I'm cautiously bullish now. And it is, something where we should at least be on the side of, okay, we are all aware that we are approaching a massive level on Tether on the daily and a massive level on Bitcoin. And that's kind of all I'm seeing. It'll be pretty confirmation to me if we actually just start closing dailies under like 5.9% on Tether. If we start closing dailies under there, then yeah, I do think a bigger breakdown is going to occur. And the next major point from, let's just say, the SMA 200 loss would be a 9% dump, almost 9% dump from this next major support zone. And at that point, we really have to ask ourselves if it's going to stop there. And if it doesn't, then yeah, we're going to go to the 3.7%. And at that point, if Tether does drop to these levels, I do think Bitcoin will easily go to 80K. And this is kind of what it all hinges on to see that reaction here. And so that's kind of what I'm watching. We do see here, big moves happen when Tether dominance does reclaim that SMA 200, and so here we came down, we broke down from it, closed below it, and that's what Mega Noob does. So, it's just interesting to see that, we're currently approaching that major spot. Farn's chart's giving a big move is brewing. My chart is also, we basically have the same levels. For me, I just want to see this 69,000, which is a beautiful number, 69,000, 69,200 actually get reclaimed. And then for me, then I'll be on the camp that, yeah, we're going to test the all-time high. And at that point, okay, cool. We could be potentially pulling a 2021 market cycle where we break the high after dumping a little bit, but there's still that 2 week. And then I'm more in the camp. Once we break this 73K, even reclaiming this 2021 market cycle high, I do believe is going to make us kind of go into that up only posture, just like we saw here in February of 2024, where Bitcoin just did the corn thing and just really left people sidelined who wanted a nice pullback and really smoked shorts any chance they could get. And so that's kind of all I have for Bitcoin right now. We know that, you know, CME right here is also breaking out. That is something we talked about. We had this basically, what was this? When did this start? Yeah, multi-month channel here on the future CME on Bitcoin. We talked about this deviation, most likely took us to the mid-range. You know, we reclaimed the mid-range and even tested it and held it while the daily SMA 200 acted as nice support. We broke above it. Now it's even acting as support. And so for now, CME, you know, which could correspond with that 73K on spot, is giving me the next move at 74,530. So that is nice to see. Curious to see how it looks on a 5-day. Yeah, and the 5 days even nicer. And it's very close to giving us a setup. I'll do what Farhan mentioned here and actually just put this, and inshallah it stays. You know, so once we break this line here, this move of expansion will confirm.
It'll stay if you save your layout.
How do you save your layout?
You see that little corner? Yeah, click that and click save.
Oh.
Well. Good shit, Farhan. So like that is, yeah, literally. So it's really, you know, I'm really like being real. Like there's really not a lot that bears have. They have to start stepping in immediately. You know, Bitcoin dominance is still looking quite bullish as well. While ETH Bitcoin is looking terrible. We are almost at that bounce zone. And the reason I'm only mentioning this is just to be mindful of the altcoins. You know, you can't expect a lot out of them right now, as long as BTC dominance here is literally in bull mode if it wants to load. So, you know, and also Bitcoin dominance is giving us a setup as well. You know, so we have, you know, many setups brewing and many about to fire off. In my opinion, they haven't yet, but they're really about to fire off. And again, I just think it all hinges on this 2021 market cycle reclaim. Once we start reclaiming that, breaking above there, it's really going to become up only again, in my opinion. I do think we're going to very aggressively go to 80K. I obviously will talk about this market cycle high of this cycle of 73,000. But at that point, I mean, probably wait for a pullback or retest of 69K for a blast to 80K. It's kind of what I'd be watching. So, you know, at that case, if you're bearish and you're holding a short, like I think Josue was potentially maybe, you know, you really just want to eye this zone. If we start really reclaiming this, even on like a 4-hour, then we run the risk of that 4-hour giving us, you know, that move, that 9% move. And I do think it'll probably start happening when we reclaim that 69K. You know, 69 to like 70,000, I guess you could call it. But I'm all eyes on that 69,000. It's a beautiful number. It makes sense to me. It's the previous market cycle top high. And so we're there now. While, you know, as you guys know, tether dominance, let's see here. We're, you know, it's under all major moving averages. So it's not like it's looking good, but we just can't disregard that daily SMA 200. So that's kind of all I have with this. Everything's looking good on Bitcoin stance, especially with CME. We just kind of want to see if bears actually step in today, which granted, you know, we easily could, like, it doesn't need to, if we even, you know, it doesn't have to go like that where we just massively nuke. You know, if it's bullish, it's just going to maybe tap it and then just start doing this, you know, tap it maybe again, start doing that, you know, where it's just kind of like what we did here when we were just grinding on that SMA 200. Something I was, you know, talking about a potential short zone, didn't like the fact that we weren't fully breaking down from it. You know, and that's why I just said shorts here at this point, you know, probably not the smartest until we actually, you know, either reclaim or full on reject. And that's why that's kind of this kind of bullish consolidation posturing where you do reject, but you're not breaking down either, would be kind of what maybe bulls would want to see at this zone. But in my opinion, the way the charts are looking, the way tether dominance is basically on basically bounce or die mode, in my opinion. I think we're going to see massive volatility here soon. You know, and what we wouldn't want is for a quick reclaim and then a deviation to rejection. That would be really bad news, in my opinion. That probably means we're going to get a deeper pullback to that actual daily SMA 200, in my opinion. You know, grinding up with that 34, and then from there, I do think that a bigger move could happen. To me, this scenario seems at least more likely, because it screws longs, it screws shorts. It's such a Bitcoin move. We haven't retested this SMA 200 yet, but again, we don't have to. And this is kind of what, like, I was mentioning here in February, a pullback never happened, and we just launched again. And that's kind of the potential scenario we're in. Another point though, also where, bulls could really pick up this pump is just, I'll just add the fact that, yeah, this is a multi-month channel that we're now breaking out above. And on the 5-day, we do know that it's giving us a setup here. So that is just something to consider if you're bearish. So that's why I'm saying bears really want to step in here. Pop is back into the CME channel, loses daily 9. And then, maybe we can get lower. But until then, yeah, it's looking pretty impressive overall on Bitcoin. Alts aren't really doing much, but I do think they'll get a bounce soon. And it kind of lines up with, Bitcoin dominance here approaching resistance. So this resistance on Bitcoin dominance will be pretty important. If we do pop back above here, this could even mean that we're going to get a bigger pump on Bitcoin, in my opinion, because, if we have these $73,000 to $80,000 move, then it would make sense that Bitcoin dominance probably does start trekking into the 60% zone. But we are still approaching resistance on that as well. So it is welcoming to see that we're getting major setups, like that 5-day setup on Bitcoin dominance is pretty big, along with that, CME setup, 2-week setup, weekly setup on Bitcoin spot. It's pretty nice. We're just like right at the edge of glory. We're like really, really like at this 2021 market cycle, in my opinion, this is going to be the spot where we're just full bull mode on, or the bears are going to step in and this can just be another massive trap. But, the way things are looking and the way everything is looking, I'm not in the camp that this is a trap. I'm just more in the camp that we probably might see a little pullback right around 69K. And then depending on where that goes, could just act as an opportunity. As long as we don't deviate that estimate 200 on the daily, that would be my first sign of, okay, this is not looking the best. And again, once we lose that EMA 100, okay, I'll be on more of the camp that this was probably maybe a bull trap. And that would mean that the weekly loses the 9. And once that happens, we're back to watching the monthly. So it's very, very just copy and paste, simple for me. We do reclaim that 2021 market cycle high, and you're not long. It wouldn't be dumb to potentially take up entry there on low leverage, though, considering, where we're at. To me, that'd be the logical long trigger. I'm not getting anything. We just want to see the reaction right around that level.
How do you guys feel about the $100,000 mark? This is completely speculation and just personal opinion. And the reason why I ask is because it's so nice to have that as a bait to be able to leave everyone hanging when the price goes all the way up and not give it to them, so you can get the most people up there and fuck them over.
I think around the high 80s to low 90s, we're probably going to get like a multi-$1,000 pullback, probably more than $10,000, $15,000, possibly even all the way down from 90s to like 70K.
Yeah. Before and some time will go by before we get to 100, because the 100 is such a nice number to keep pulling people in when you're getting closer. It's like the equivalent to the 69, right? 1,000 on the last cycle.
What could happen is that around the end of this year, we get that move up to like high 80s, low 90s, and then we pull back to maybe 68K, 69K, and then consolidate until around like March.
Yeah.
Last time we hit all-time highs in March, I believe.
So you boys do think that the 100,000 is not going to happen like on this pump?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, it could. And I have to look at just past history, and we're not working with a lot. We know that the 2 weeks giving us the same setup we had in October. Once that fired off from a major rejection from the first one, we still went up about 64%. If that even plays out to 50%, we're at 100K. So to me, it's hard to say, well, no, we might reject at 80K, because I do think that'll be the first spot based on the HBDR. But then I'm also like, but we also have too, like, what is that sound? That's weird. We also know, though, and right now is also the 2 weeks giving us an even bigger setup, considering the fact that we are at zero volatility way longer than what happened in October. So it is hard for me, because I used to be on the camp like, no, we're probably not going to see 100K this cycle, but we really could actually, based on what we're seeing. Nothing's confirmed yet, but assuming it does confirm, where will price be if, let's say, Bitcoin goes to 73K, and let's say in a utopian society that 2 week setup fires off and we go to 15%, then what could happen? We could hit 80K in a week from then, and then when the FOMO starts. And then I honestly don't know, though, but that's kind of where my brain's at. Where will price be when this 2 week fires off. And if we are at 73,000 and we do even go up maybe 50% from there, yeah, we've just hit 100,000, which would be pretty insane.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard for Price to naturally do it just based on history, but I do think like if I wanted to fuck people over, I'd use that 100,000 mark. Like, come on, like gold kind of did with the $2,000 one for a while. It would go reach it and then fuck you all the way down. And it lasted years before it actually broke the 2001, and then it stayed there and it continued its move up. And the same thing was with 2,500, and now whatever it's doing. So I can see that playing either way. I just personally, I'm suspicious because if I wanted to fuck people over, definitely keep the 100,000 mark in front of them.
Because then what's the next level? You know, because like if
that's what I'm saying.
For all the cycles, the 100K has been the prophecy. Like that's the number that everyone wants. Will it be 1 million after that? I have no idea. But you know, we also have been consolidating. Like from basically that major high in February, price really hasn't done it. We've been in the downtrend on the weekly, but that downtrend was pretty like weak, and we haven't really done anything in regards to like an actual Bitcoin move, which tells me we are, and the 2 weeks telling us that we are really like contracted here. It's like a ball underwater. Once that just you let go, it's gonna burst up. So yeah, I don't know. If we hit 100K, I'll be genuinely shocked. Putting in 100K long on Bitcoin will be trippy, and it'll bring a crypto tear to my eye because I've been watching Bitcoin since it was like a few $100s. It's kind of insane to me. It does hit $1,000. Like, Jesus, I should have been buying that shit instead of being in elementary school and middle school.
Yeah, I had a Fluffy, the comedian, his boy Eddie. Eddie fucking told me when Bitcoin was at $600, you should buy this shit. I was like, what is it? And he just didn't explain it to me like at a point where I was like, oh, that makes sense. I was just like, that makes no sense. Like, who gives a shit? And I hate myself for it.
Was that back when you went to look at the buses?
Yeah.
I showed Alex that video.
Sadly.
The one with all those Volkswagen buses.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was
his
cool.
collection is dope. His collection is dope. Let me put this on. I think it was I don't know. I'll check again. But yeah, it was a ridiculously low number. That was the first time I heard someone, like a person, telling me about Bitcoin. Okay, I'm going to do this in Espanol and we'll get to, alrighty, boys. Who wants to do, the peso dollar, which is USD MXN?
Well,
I will do that one.
Okay, and American Airlines.
Oh, very cool.
I got the peso.
Perfect. Vale, estamos viendo Bitcoin y vamos a resumir todo el análisis que acabamos de escuchar de Farhan y de Alex rápidamente. Lo primero que vamos a hacer es a la dominancia de Tether, porque aquí es donde nos pone la pista más grande de todas. ¿Por qué? Pueden ver esta línea, esta vertical que está subiendo por acá. Esto está formando cierta estructura y también depende en dónde lo veas. Lo vamos a poner en la diaria para que puedan darse cuenta bien acá de lo mismo. Si pierdes esta zona de los 5.24% y tienes un cierre abajo del 5.2%, muy probablemente vayas a tener un movimiento de este tamaño. Esto es un patrón de hombro, cabeza, hombro, y esto sería el objetivo del mismo en 3.4%. Obviamente, Tether, la dominancia de Tether bajando es lo que nos estaría indicando que ¿cómo se llama? Que Bitcoin es bastante alcista. Ahora, déjenme rápidamente pongo esto. Ok, volatilidad subiendo, vientos. Ok, ahí está en Tether. Y vamos a ver la semanal rápidamente. La semanal también tiene una pinta bastante mala. Así que el nivel a ver son los 5.2%. Si perdemos eso y tienes dos cierres, lo pondría en la de probablemente una temporalidad de 2 días. Si tienes dos cierres de 2 días abajo de los 5.2%, muy probablemente vayas a ver este movimiento. Primer objetivo son 4.68% y segundo serían 3.95% o hasta la parte baja de este canal. Aquí hay que tener poner muchísima atención a lo que se da. Vamos rápidamente con la dominancia de Bitcoin. Podemos ver, esta madre tiene fuerza y una vez más nada de volatilidad. ¿Qué pasó justamente aquí? Cuando tuviste nada de volatilidad y expandió tantito la volatilidad, tuviste ese movimiento a la alza de... ¿Cuánto fue esto? De casi 6% en la dominancia de Bitcoin, y parece, cada vez que tiene cero volatilidad, que son estas cosas azules, es lo que te dice que, pues, después de cero volatilidad, viene la volatilidad, ¿no? Es lo que pasa en todos lados. Y eso empujaría, una vez que estas líneas suban al 15% para arriba. Pero bueno, eso da igual. Estamos viendo la dominancia de Bitcoin fuerte, fuerte, fuerte en estos momentos, y más cuando la vemos. Vean esto, o sea, para que tengamos una idea de cuándo fue la última vez que vimos esto, en el 2020, y la última vez que estuvimos a estos niveles fue en abril del 2021, y estamos por encima de ellos en este momento. Siguiente objetivo será el 62.3% en mi libro, pero antes un recargón en el 60%. Esto también es importante porque esto te indica que Bitcoin lleva la fuerza de todo el movimiento acá, que es lo que normalmente pasa en este tipo de mercados. Vamos rápido a Bitcoin y lo vamos a poner sencillamente para todos ustedes, para que lo puedan cachar. Estas son líneas muy importantes. Estoy en una semanal, lo voy a poner en la de 2 semanas. Y la razón por qué es porque quiero que se acerquen a ver. Esta primera línea de aquí abajo es justamente 65.650, lo que ha funcionado como buen soporte y resistencia en esta zona. Donde estamos consolidando en este momento. Fue algo que solamente pudimos mechar 2 veces en el ciclo pasado. Pero ahora, y esta es la importante, la del 69.40, te indica dónde estuvo el alto más alto de antes. Y si nos acercamos, puedes ver en la más alta que has tenido un cierre parcial acá. Este no fue cierre, y en la de 2 semanas nunca ha cerrado encima de la línea de $69,000, más que esta única vez que lo hizo en 69,433. Somos alcistas, tenemos precaución en este movimiento. Se ve bastante fácil, honestamente, es como de, pues, todo pinta que va a subir, sobre todo cuando estamos viendo los indicadores de volatilidad y de momentum de Farhan. Nos dice a largo plazo, muy, muy, muy fuerte movimiento a la alza, y a corto plazo está justamente poniéndose todo para dar el movimiento a corto plazo, y no un movimiento correctivo, sino un movimiento direccional, ¿ok? Ahora, ¿qué es lo que les quiero enseñar? Déjenme quito estos promedios. Lo que les quiero enseñar es esto. Pueden ver cómo esta línea ha servido perfectamente de resistencia, y ahorita parece que la estamos rompiendo. Esta es una excelente manera de poder medir si vamos a poder lograr los 69,000, romperlos y quedarnos aquí encima y empezar a buscar nuestro objetivo a la alza. Otra cosa que está bastante chida por acá es esto. La última vez en esta tabla que se dio este movimiento fue acá. Y lo voy a poner acá para que lo vean. Ahora, ¿esto qué es? Volatilidad en cero, y luego un movimiento de expansión de volatilidad hasta la zona del 76%. Eso llevó el precio de Bitcoin literalmente de los $29,000 hasta los $73,860, lo que fue un movimiento de 146%. Nunca antes en la historia de Bitcoin había tenido ese movimiento. Nunca. Lo pudieron ver ahí. Esta vez está presentando igual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 semanas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 semanas. Y ahora, ¿qué es lo que estamos esperando? A que la volatilidad empiece a subir y confirmar el movimiento. ¿Y dónde tenemos que esperar a que suba? Arriba el 15%. Arriba el 15% es acá. Lo que queremos ver es que estas líneas blancas trepen encima de esto, y eso nos diría que continúa empujando la volatilidad del precio, y aparte nos está diciendo también que esto va a hacer un movimiento expansivo y no un movimiento en falso. Ahora nos vamos a acercar un poco en la diaria para que también lo puedan ver por ahí. En la diaria podemos ver, déjenme quito esto. En la diaria podemos ver exactamente lo que estamos diciendo. Y aquí hay varios setups que me gustan muchísimo, ya sea en la semanal o en la diaria. En la semanal, perdón, en la semanal se ve, le quitas todo el ruido a la tabla. honestamente. Y aquí es donde puedes ver, empiezas en tu zona de breakout, quieres romper estos 69,000 y definitivamente poder pasar estos 69,000. Tu segundo movimiento va a ser, tu segunda confirmación, poder romper los 69,946. Una vez que rompas esta línea verde en los 69 y esta en casi los 70, tu probable objetivo, de acuerdo a todos los setups que nos está dando la volatilidad y momentum, nos vaya a llevar a nuevos altos históricos, por ahí de los $80,000. Lo que todavía no sabemos es qué tan alto pueda llegar, es todo. Pero pues se ve bastante alcista este pedo, honestamente. Sobre todo viendo que la dominancia de Tether está a punto de colapsar. Si esto llega a darse, no sabemos cuál vaya a ser el primero o el segundo, pero esto sería un buen indicador para ustedes, para poder darse cuenta que esto está a punto de cocinarse. Y vale, pues, por cierto, si ustedes quieren unirse a nuestro Discord, quieren venir y por ejemplo, dimos me parece aquí, Alex había dado el trade de, ¿dónde está? El de Solana acá, ¿no? Entonces, si quieren ver todos esos trades de los que hablamos acá, de dónde estamos dentro, dónde estamos fuera, qué estamos siendo corto, largos, aquí lo tienen, es absolutamente gratis para todos ustedes. Pueden venir, es súper sencillo, les dejé el enlace en la parte de abajo del video para que no haya excusa y también acá para que lo puedan ver todos ustedes en pantalla. Una vez más, es gratis, acá tienen el análisis de Alex, el análisis de Farhan, tienen el chat general, tenemos todas las abreviaciones de cripto para que puedan entender todo lo que estamos platicando, tiene la comunidad todos nuestros hermosos, bien por ti, buena ganada, Leo, bien hecho. También pueden venir aquí a pedir tablas, testimoniales, que muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes por esos tremendos testimoniales, noticias, acá vengan a compartir noticias con nosotros, preguntas, súper relajado, súper tranquilo, la comunidad es excelente, el chat general siempre está caliente, señores, está caliente, así que ahí lo tienen todos ustedes, dense una vuelta a ver aquí en el Elite Trading Academy, por cualquier cosa, si quieren aprender o quieren andar de degenerados apostadores. All righty, boys, let's do this. This one is US, the peso.
USD So after we put in this doji candle, we're putting in another doji candle, which makes me think that we're probably going to get a little bit of a pullback pretty soon. What also aligns with that is that we're at the 95% on the HPDR. So we're at such extreme levels that pullback / consolidation is a lot more likely than continuation from here. And if we were to pull back, I would look, and actually what aligns with that is that on the HBDR momentum, we're hitting very, very extreme levels. We're at 97.96% and volatility is at 97.96%. So we only have theoretically like 2% more to go before we're at 100%. So that tells us even more that we're likely to pull back a little bit. The jewel is entering the bullish control zone as well. So it would make sense to pull back on the first tap around, to curve down a little bit and then curve back around so we can make it into the bullish critical zone. But the main targets I would look for on a pullback would be somewhere around this 100 EMA, which is about 19.3 pesos, all the way down to maybe this 5 EMA, which is around 19.17 pesos. I wouldn't really look much lower than that because it is a currency and they don't really move that much. But if it were to move, like to make this move, this is the lowest I would consider it to go to, would be somewhere around 18.85, but I don't really think that's going to happen. I think somewhere between that 19.16 to 19.3 area is where we should be looking for consolidation and pullback. Since this is a monthly chart, I would expect that consolidation to take somewhere around 3 to 4 months for it to play out, while these HBDR ranges move up, and then you can expect to see continuation towards the upside, but not until then, and until these ranges move up and until this momentum and volatility indicators reset.
When something's, I was going to say the quarterly, how does that look?
So the quarterly right now looks pretty solid. We're still technically at in the lower high area. We would need to break above this candle right here to make it over the lower high. That is at 22.149. So we'd have to get a quarterly close over that, and then we'd have invalidated this lower high, and the trend is going to be back towards the upside. But as of right now, it's on a downtrend. On the quarterly, we did open above the top 38.2%. We got a nice move back down to test the top of it, and we're getting some expansion. but right now it's still a doji. We'd want to see it close above what is this high? 20.026 for this to be to confirm our next statistical target of hitting the 88.3. And right now the 88.3 sits at 20.5. So that's not that much of a move because it is a currency, so they don't move that much. But that still would be pretty significant for a currency the size of the Mexican peso to go that much against the dollar like that. And then but this thing likes to hit the 100% on the HPTR on the quarterly, and it likes to go even above it. But it closes at the 100%. And right now the 100% sits at like right around 22.12 pesos per dollar. That's
my final target.
22.
Yeah.
That is like close to 12% from here, which is pretty fucking insane for a currency to move 12%. See how the HPR. Yep, and the HPR momentum and volatility are also supporting that idea where we're breaking into the bullish control zone, and we still have some room to go because we're only at 78.5. This thing likes to go to 100. Volatility is at 78.5 as well, and this thing likes to go to 100 on volatility. So we could definitely see that 12% move to hit 22s. It makes a lot of sense. And then if we were to hit 22, reject, and close below this candle's high, that would be a swing failure pattern, and then that would be confirming another lower high in a series of lower highs, and then we end up making another lower low. That would take probably 2 to 3 years to play out because this is a quarterly, and you see how many candles this thing likes to take.
Mm-hmm.
Weekly right now is finding some resistance at the top of this 38.2%, and momentum is starting to shift down while volatility shifts down. So that gives you a statistical probability of hitting the median. So as long as we don't close above 19.99 on this weekly close in 5 hours and 40 minutes, then we're very likely to. My bad?
No, I was just laughing. In 5 hours, it has to go up 20. It might.
Might. In 5 hours and 5 hours and 40 minutes, it has to go over, basically close at $20, 20 pesos per dollar. If we don't do that, then we're likely to come back down and test the median. Median is currently at 19.65. So that's not that much of a move down. It's just a very slight pullback to retest the median, because on the daily setup from there, we would likely continue upwards. Because you can just consider this corrective because momentum is still in positive territory. So we'd expect it to flip back around, right around this middle zone. And then from there, volatility would have reset as well. So volatility can start ticking back up as well. And then that would give us like one of these moves whenever we did 16.62 pesos per dollar all the way up to 20.2. So we get a similar move like that once momentum and volatility reset. 5 days giving us the same thing as the weekly, where as long as we're below that 20 basically number, we're going to pull back to retest the median, which is around that 19.65 area, same in 5 day. 2 days giving us the same idea where we're of a pullback because we're rejecting this top 38.2% and we're about to close below it in 5 hours 39 minutes. This gives us a probability of coming back down to retest the median again. The median is in the same area, 19.63, very close to that 19.65. And right now the daily is giving us a top shooting star candle right here, and we're testing this 5 EMA. As long as this is over the 5 EMA, we have to wait for the ranges to move up, and we would expect consolidation. If we do lose the 5 EMA, though, we're very lucky to come back down to retest this top 38.2%, which right now is at 19.63. This is what I think is most likely going to play out, because this 19.63 is coming up on multiple time frames. Now let's check the RSI. Bing. Bing.
There you go.
Is the ping my equivalent of the smoke detector?
Kinda. I like it better than the smoke detector.
All right, so volatility on the monthly is nearing very, very extreme levels from this move from 16s all the way up to 20. We're at 89.5%. So this thing does like to go to 100 on volatility, so we could expect it to go a little bit higher. But based off of this formation right here, I would not expect that to happen unless this candle does close over this 20.148. At that point, then this idea of a pullback goes out of the window, and we're very likely to come up here to test 22 first before anything else. And we have a single drive of bullish divergence within the bearish control zone on the RSI. We've already broken into the bullish control zones. We've hit the easy target. We could possibly get a retest of the edge of the bullish control zone. I just don't think that's as likely as it's going up to the bullish critical zone. And right now, the bullish critical zone is at right around that 22 area. On the weekly, we have confirmed hitting bullish divergence, maintaining the bullish control zone, and now we're above the moving average as well. So our next target is going to have to be the bullish critical zone. Bullish critical zone, 22s. That number keeps coming back up. So that's what's having me think that we're going to go to on this next move. We have another hidden bullish divergence, rejecting the bearish control zone. We've already hit basically hit the middle zone, so we have to target the bullish control zone. And we're getting volatility expansion from very low levels, right around like 18% volatility. We're expanding from there. So we could easily target the bullish control zone, which right now sits at, and this number is going to go down, but right now it's at 24.44. I don't think it's going to go to 24 right away. I think it's probably going to find resistance at that previous lower high at 22. And right now there's no divergence on the daily, but we do have an inverse head and shoulders right here, which would give us a move a little bit higher than the bullish control zone. Right now, the bullish control zone is at 20.11, and the bullish critical zone is right under 22. So the shorter time frames are kind of telling me that we're probably going to have a continuation, but the longer time frames are saying short-term correction, but the shorter-term time frames are giving me an idea of a little bit of continuation from here before correction. So I'm guessing that we're probably going to continue a little bit higher from here, maybe to retest our current highs. And then the long-term doji candle is going to play out. We might get a correction, a little slight correction to that 100 EMA on the monthly. And then from there, I would expect continuation back to the upside.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much, dude. Greatly appreciate it. That was great. All righty. For you, I got DJT, Donald Trump, of course.
Nice,
I believe
nice.
it had a terrible day one day that it went down. I don't know how much people were freaking the fuck out. So I'm guessing that's why we're here. Estamos viendo el peso dólar, damas y caballeros. Lo primero que queremos ver es la trimestral. Estamos viendo en temporalidades en altas temporalidades. Lo que estamos viendo es básicamente un movimiento continuo, la continuación del mismo movimiento que estamos viendo acá, y esa continuación de movimiento es a la alza. Recuerden que en macro, desde el 2008, estamos simplemente haciendo nuevos bajos más altos en todo esto. El bajo más bajo fue 16.2. Yo creí que se iba a quedar en 16.6, es lo que había dicho, pero también no duró mucho ese 16.2 por acá. Entonces, nada mal, honestamente. Ahora, tenemos este movimiento de expansión que lo hemos estado viendo desde abril del 2024 y hemos visto que el precio del peso contra el dólar ha subido un 25%. Eso quiere decir que una cuarta parte de tu dinero desapareció en contra del dólar. No tiene nada de malo si vives en México y nunca tienes transacciones que tengan que ver con productos importados de Estados Unidos, o si no tienes nada que ver con Estados Unidos. Lo que sí es la inflación va a venir a afectar a México por esto, porque vuelve mucho más barato a México una vez más para que todos los gringos se vayan a vivir por allá. Así que a gusto y pasándola bien. Vale. En la trimestral voy a poner, honestamente no debería ni poner ningún SMA. Lo que sí les voy a poner es esto. Acá donde tenemos más o menos donde se están juntando el 21 y el 9, que es el amarillo y el azul, es por ahí de los 18.8, 18.7. Eso es lo que creemos nosotros podría ser un movimiento donde el peso contra el dólar literalmente haga esto y continúe su movimiento hacia arriba. Es algo que esperaríamos nosotros de acuerdo a todo lo que vimos con los indicadores de Farhan. Ahora, nos vamos a acercar un poco más a la mensual. Podemos ver que estamos consolidando por encima del 19.5. Eso es bastante alcista para el dólar contra el peso. Y esta consolidación también, el 9 está pasando por encima del 21, lo que nos indica que va a haber fuerza también. Y aquí tienes el 25, el 55 que está en los 18.8. No ha habido un cruce plateado todavía en la mensual. Tuvimos uno a la baja acá, que fue cuando perdimos los 19 y nos fuimos hasta 16. Uno a la alza, me imagino que sería brutal. Semanal, pueden ver esa consolidación aún más de cerca, pueden ver cómo literalmente la zona de los 18.8 con el 21 es algo bastante real, eso sería una oportunidad de compra, porque lo que nosotros creemos es, tenemos que tener un cierre arriba de esta línea, que son los 20.13. Si no tienes un cierre hoy en 5 horas en la semanal, porque esta es una tabla semanal, si no tienes un cierre en 5 horas arriba de esto y 31 minutos, muy probablemente vayas a quedarte rangueando, pero por encima de esta línea. Entonces, lo que nosotros estamos esperando en todas las temporalidades es simplemente esto. Que ranguee y eventualmente poder romper los 20.63 y de ahí se va a ir a los 22. En los 22 parece ser el objetivo que tenemos en común. Ese es un número que sigue subiendo junto con el 18.8, que también el promedio de las 200 en la semanal está justamente aquí abajo en los 19 en punto, por lo que no nos sorprendería si llegamos a ver al peso corregir tantito antes de continuar su movimiento y llegar a los $22. Va a tardar simplemente porque lo estamos viendo en time frames bastante grandes, pero tiene toda la cara de que pues acá se dirige el superpeso a $22. Hombre, voy a pasármela en todas las playas mexicanas todo el tiempo ahora con todo ese dinero extra. Vale, vamos a darle a American Airlines.
Nice. So American Airlines is interesting to me. I was just researching, seeing if this could actually be a morning doji start, which usually is a reversal pattern. The issue is this didn't close as a doji, on the quarterly. And so, that was kind of like the small hopium for bulls I was going to have to open up. But yeah, unfortunately, American Airlines broke down from, this mean diagonal channel. We then, in the last quarter, basically didn't, we wicked down and then we wicked up and we almost closed to the doji, but not fully, still red. But we did hold the $11.06 zone, a spot that we've been holding for a while. So I guess that is a good sign. Now, on the flip side, though, we are approaching major resistance on every time frame. To start, the quarterly 9, we basically deviated it fully last quarter. No, my apologies. 2 quarters ago, last quarter, we really didn't do much. We just held support, and now we're rallying to it. What I like about this is it's lining up nicely with this, meme line, and that's just how I'm going to take it. And currently, right now, that $13.77 is major resistance on American Airlines. And what makes it nice too is not only on the quarterly do we have the EMA 9, but we're actually approaching, that EMA 21 and at 34. The 34 in the monthly has been a major rejection point on American Airlines. And again, just kind of lining up nicely. And we'll see where this next month closes, assuming we don't just shoot up and hit it. Possibly could grind more down, meeting price more with that $13.70 to maybe $14 zone. We are at monthly resistance now, though. And that's why for me, it's not really wise to be looking for longs in this zone. If we keep holding that $11.06 zone, then yeah, maybe then you could take that long. But kind of here after an expansion move, this monthly candle is up 17.3%. Yeah, we should be on more of the side of just being more cautious in the fact that this could just be a massive bearish retest before we have a massive breakdown. Even on the weekly too. If we go to the weekly here, what's nice about this is we are approaching massive weekly resistance. And again, just like that monthly 34, this weekly EMA 100 has actually been a pretty nice rejection point. We see it here even on the last time we basically chopped around it before full on rejecting it. Even here, deviation of it. This actually just rejected it full on. And again, so it chops around it. That's something I'll know. But overall, this is still big resistance. And so when we have a quarterly, a monthly, and now a weekly, all around the zone, I do think it's more catered to kind of be watching. On the upside, though, bulls are getting this expansion on the weekly after going all the way down to 4.74%. So that's welcoming, So the idea would be maybe bulls take this up a little bit more. I do believe from maybe where we could tap that $14, let's call it, 6.28%. Maybe it goes to 1370, more like 5.8%. The idea would be then that would actually keep expanding BBWP to the point where it can at least go to these levels right around that 80%. On American Airlines, we do see that 80% zone is kind of the spot where we start to flip and churn. It doesn't really like to go to that 90% a lot. So it's kind of the bear hopium / bull hopium where we definitely could still keep going up with this expansion. It is only at 53.9%. The idea is we'd start seeing it roll over after we start going to that $13.70 to $14 zone, fulfilling the bear prophecy of that quarterly rejection. For me, it's pretty nice though on the weekly. It's welcoming to see that what we have here is that 9 freshly crossing that 21. This is a massive deviation. We didn't full on hit my zone at $8.21, 23 cents, which is welcome. We really didn't want to start going back to this wick low. So it's nice that bull stepped in and actually deviated and even back tested this $11.06. So it is looking quite bullish. And we are now closing this weekly in 4 hours over the 34, which is really nice. The issue for me is we just want to get above these two zones, mainly the EMA though, because for stocks, the EMAs work a lot more better, in my opinion, than crypto. Just think boomers like it more. And we're getting, especially on the quarterly, that 9, we got to be more, cautious in viewing this zone, at least the $14 as resistance. If we get any, call it weekly closures back above $14, then I do think we're going to get a nice move back to this SMA 200. That's currently right now at $15.83. That to me will be the second point of rejection, in my opinion. If we go and view the 2-week, we see that 2-week ideally, it's closing very soon. It's gonna come down next closure, matching more with that weekly SMA 200. So we're gonna see very closely kind of the reaction, because this either could be a massive bearish retest and actually a short opportunity, or a very easy long, depending on kind of what price does. We either could do that, retest this, and go up and be in a channel until we get decision of a breakdown or breakout. But considering where we're at on the weekly, quarterly, monthly, more of a sharp rejection wouldn't surprise me. Something like this, and then coming down and then testing these lows. And then the question will be, do we start trying to form structure at this point to potentially break, this last rejection high at $15.31. Overall, though, the trend is still down. There's hopium, the fact that we didn't full on, break the lows here, but from this low, we still broke this last lower low. So, the trend is still down. On top of that, we're approaching major resistance. The quarterly also is nice. We obviously can go above that, because this is closing in 2 months, but it's just more confluence. So the fact that this area could make for a nice, at least quarterly lower low. Lower high, my apologies, potentially. And again, if we on the quarterly start even going back above $16.09, to me, that'll look like a major trend shift on the macro. And then bulls will start looking at this low as a major low. But until then, one thing after the other, I have to just view this zone as major resistance. And it's pretty cutthroat and clear to me. This is actually a pretty nice setup that American Airlines is potentially giving us. Actually, I even forgot. Let me just show my screen back on one more time. The 5-day. The 5-day too is pretty clear. It's just, again, more confluence more data gives us more confluence, which gives us more confidence. We've really been dragged down on this 5-day EMA 100. So again, just sitting nicely with this price, we're approaching it. The more higher timeframes I start looking, the more I'm convinced that we're probably going to reject that zone. The daily though is looking nice, and so for me, we can start looking actually as we're gap filling this breakdown. We're approaching resistance. We are above every major moving average, and we even see after this reclaim of that daily EMA 100, price basically has been steadily holding that 9. So the idea is this daily 9 goes up with that SMA 200. If we start losing those two EMAs and they start going near each other, to me that'll be the first cautionary sign of, okay, we could break down. And this could then start looking like a bearish retest. And so that's kind of like, if you're trying to front run it, that's kind of my level. But even on the daily, we do see, I don't know why it's so small. Oh, it's my drawing tool. We are approaching, basically extremes here. and starting the curve kind of at the spot we did last time. And so that is just something to be mindful of, considering all the things I mentioned with the many areas of resistance on multiple timeframes, showing that this zone is pretty important for American Airlines. And the reason I say it's an easy trade is because it's an easy short or it's an easy long. So reclaiming those, awesome, cool. Now we have good confluence, things are looking better. But if we start rejecting it, then we know in the back of our head, okay, it's rejecting this, and that on all time frames. We're probably going to break down. So the trigger would be losing that SMA 200 and that EMA 9 on the daily if it's connected to.
Awesome. Thank you.
I hope it does break
Great
down.
Bitcoin form. Huh?
So airline ticket. I hope it does break down so airline tickets can get cheaper.
I hope so too, but nothing's gonna get cheaper, son. We're just gonna inflate that bag all the way up so that everyone continues to think they're super rich with their $200,000 salary while they try to buy a $350,000 Honda Civic. Reality fucking blows cock. Not gas.
Cool.
Did you hear that Corvette ZR1 is going to be like $300K after the market adjustment?
Well, market adjustments are fucking retarded. That wouldn't surprise me. But yeah.
What type of retard is paying $300K for a Corvette?
I don't understand. But there's also a $300,000 Mustang, dude.
Yeah, this is autism. Weaponized autism.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's something like that. Why would anyone want that? But
go buy a McLaren Artura for $300,000.
Absolutely. Or a Ferrari. Or you know what? A Bentley. Or anything else. Or a house. In a small shitty town. Okay. Estamos viendo a American Airlines en este momento, algo que nos emociona, esperamos, y justamente lo dijo Farhan, que qué chido y ojalá y continúe esta tendencia a la baja. Lo estamos viendo en el gráfico trimestral, podemos ver que American Airlines hizo un alto máximo en octubre del 2006 en los 63, luego volvió a intentarlo a llegar a casi los 60 en el 2018 y desde entonces ha sido una caída estrepitosa. ¿Esto qué nos está indicando? Estamos viendo literalmente una tabla bajista, ¿no? Porque tienes esta bandera bajista, esta es consolidación y probablemente el siguiente movimiento que te dé es para abajo. Ahora, quiero que noten esto. Tenemos una línea meme que dibujamos de estos bajos hasta acá. Tuviste el rechazo de la misma. Y eso es lo que nos tiró en este nivel de los 11.06. Está cotizando en 13.24, por cierto, en este momento. Pero puedes ver el promedio de las 9. Está justamente en esta zona que es donde tenemos esta resistencia. Nos encanta ese tipo de confluencia. ¿Por qué? Porque esto nos dice que simplemente retomar la zona, llamémoslo $14, de $14 y tener un cierre, digamos, trimestral o dos encima de... Eso nos va a decir que muy probablemente podamos empezar a pensar en irnos a los $19. Pero lo más probable es que esto vaya a ser un retesteo, un rechazo y continuar para abajo. ¿Por qué decimos eso? Déjenme me acerco un poco más en diferentes temporalidades y creo que es esencial. Porque esto está fácil para un long o para un short, cualquiera de los dos. Pueden ver que ahorita estamos en el promedio de las 21. Voy a eliminar el 100 en este momento, voy a eliminar el 200, voy a eliminar el 55, para que vean cómo el promedio de las 34, que es el blanco, nos ha rechazado contundentemente, definitivamente desde el septiembre del 2018, no, desde mayo del 2018 nos rechazó acá, 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 y ahora ese nivel está en los 14.70. No dudamos que venga justamente a tener otro de estos momentos acá, sobre todo por cómo es el setup de acá. Ahora, rompes esto y tienes cierres por encima de justamente esta zona, vientos, eso quiere decir que entonces vas a ir para arriba. Pero si continúa el movimiento tal cual, te rechaza esta zona, eso probablemente te va a llevar a buscar los 8.34 y si rompes los 8.34 va a haber continuación en el movimiento hacia la baja. Cuando nos acercamos un poco más en la de 2 semanas, Vemos un poco de lo mismo. Podemos ver cómo estamos superando el 34, el 9, el 21. Y ahora voy a poner el 55. ¿Ves cómo el 55 justamente abajito de los $14? Vamos a ver dónde está el 100. A los 16 y el 200 ni siquiera aparece. Vale. Nos acercamos a la semanal y podemos ver que todos están intercambiando. El promedio de la 100 ahora es el que sigue. Entonces, digo, en cierta forma, si te acercas acá, te das cuenta de que, déjenme quito el BBWP, te das cuenta que retomaste la 9, el 9 está a punto de subir del 21 y eso sería bueno, por lo que probablemente este movimiento y con la volatilidad detrás de él vaya a ser justo esto. En nuestra opinión, hay una posibilidad más grande de esto, pero lo más padre de todo esto es sencillo. Cierras arriba de los 14.4 y tienes 2 cierres fuertes semanales o 2 de 2 semanas, esto se vuelve alcista. Si te rechaza esto y empieza a ver al precio caer, simplemente una gran posibilidad de short, justamente en donde está esta línea, en los $14. ¿Dónde está tu invalidación? Yo diría que aquí en los 15.34. Así que ahí lo tienen, damas y caballeros. American Airlines viéndose un poco jodida, pero vamos a ver qué pasa, tíos. Vamos a ver qué pasa exactamente. Vale. Esos rechazones. Vamos a ver, esperemos que no le dé un rechazón en el pezón. Alrighty. We got DJ Trump. DJ T.
Big T stock.
Uncle Donnie. Wait, what happened to the big move that everybody was complaining about? This shit's fucking going up.
So as of right now, we're still rejecting this 50%. So we couldn't even make it to the top 38.2%. If we keep rejecting the 50% like this and we're not able to close over that, we're very likely to come back down to retest this 78.6, which is somewhere around or the top of this candle, actually, more likely, which is 20.86 area to possibly 20.6. And if we switch to the weekly right now is rejecting this 100 EMA. So that's giving us an idea that we're probably going to get a pullback as well, somewhere around this 38.2%, which right now is also that 21.8 to 21.6 area, which I believe, right here, 21.8, which is the 78.6% as well. So that lines up for the 78.6, and it also lines up with this top 38.2 for 21.8. See how the momentum is looking. HBR momentum is hitting very extreme levels as well. So that's very telling us that a reset is likely. Volatility still has a little bit more to go, but momentum is near extremes. So it's telling us that we're likely to reset this momentum to zero and then have momentum set up so we can make another move to the upside. And at that point, the ranges will also move up too. So then we can easily hit the higher prices without hitting extreme ranges. It's like the 5-day. Yeah, 5-day is also giving us more of an idea that we're probably going to get a pullback since we're currently rejecting this 100 and getting a move down. So as long as we're below the 100, which is 30.59, we're likely to come back down to retest this at the very least 61.8, which is currently 22.5, but more likely the 38.2, which is currently sitting right here at about 18.8. This one, it seems a little bit less likely to me because of how many EMAs we have bunched up right here. And each one of these is going to be support all the way through. So what's more likely is the 61.8, which right now is at 21.9-ish area. 2-day is also giving us an idea of a pullback after this top candle right here. And we were at the 95%. So we have we're still above the 88.3, which gives us more of a probability of going down from here to retest these bottom zones while these ranges move up. Right now, what I would expect to hold as pretty solid support would be this 21 EMA and this 78.6, which right now is about anywhere between 22.5 down to 21 area. I would expect that to be very, very solid support. And I end up weakening from there because this thing does like to move a lot whenever it moves. Let's find this last trending move, like right here, whenever it actually does move. This cat stepping on my keyboard. likes to make very solid moves whenever it does move. It moves to the 88.3% usually. The 95% at the minimum, which is where we've topped out this time around. So I'd expect that to hold as support somewhere around the 78.6, and then the ranges are going to move up significantly. Then from there we can hit the 95, 99%, which would be at the current time 95% is 37.63. But once the ranges move up, it's probably going to move up very, very significantly, possibly all the way up to $100. And then it likes to top out at the 99 to 95% area. Daily right now is also at very extreme areas. We're rejecting this 200 SMA, and we're at over the 88.3%, which gives us more of a probability of going back down to retest the lower levels while the ranges move up. And as of right now, the daily is giving us a fresh silver cross where the 21 is crossing above the 55 EMA. So what's likely is that we come back down to retest this 9 EMA at the very least, which is currently at 26.59. But what's more probable, since that would still be at such extreme levels in the HPDR, is that we go a little bit lower to test this 61.8, which would be a perfect retest of the silver cross, which is around like 22.9 area. Now let's check the RSI. For Donald John Trump. Monthly, weekly. All right, so the 2-day does have bullish divergence in play in the bearish control zone and bearish critical zone actually, but most of it is already played out since we've already went into the bullish control zone. As of this moment, we are shifting down a little bit, so we probably will retest the edge of the bullish control zone, and that number is currently 26.34. Possibly we go a little bit below it. And these numbers will change on the next 2-day open, which is in 4 hours and 10 minutes. So we'll see where this number goes to exit the bullish control zone. Well, probably it goes down a little bit, maybe down to like that $22 area, $23 area. And then from there, we likely test the bullish critical zone, which right now is sitting at $40.54. Daily has 3 drives of bullish divergence in play, but we've hit all of the easy targets so far because we went above the bullish critical zone, and we've broken back into it. The number for the bullish critical zone currently is now $33.56, and the volatility is at extremes on daily. It went all the way up to like 95%. Now volatility is starting to contract. It's moving below the moving average, so we should expect volatility to move down somewhere to, at the very least, like just below 60%, possibly to like the 50% area. And from there, we would have to expect price to either consolidate or pull back, because that would be a mean reversion from this move up. So in the short term, I would expect this to pull back a little bit, to retest these lower EMAs and retest the silver cross while the HPDR ranges move up. And in the longer term, I would expect it to put in a higher low and then end up continuing upwards and onwards to the right.
Makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, just I think the daily is such a it tells you pretty much everything you just said if you're just looking at that shit with all of the EMAs and seeing what price is doing there. Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. Not gas, blah blah blah. What's LAC?
LAC.
I don't know.
Yeah, we've done it before, I'm pretty sure. No? I just don't want to change my screen.
Lithium America's Corp.
Oh, probably not. That's good. Alrighty. Thank you. Vale, estamos viendo la acción del gran presidente Donald Trump. ¿Cómo de que no, damas y caballeros? Saben ustedes que antes de esto era un SPAC. Estamos viendo la temporalidad diaria. Pero, ¿sabes qué? En esta tabla quiero empezar en la diaria, porque lo que estamos viendo literalmente te cuenta toda la historia que necesitas saber. Puedes ver que el promedio de las 200, que es esta línea morada, déjenme me acerco un poco más para que lo puedan ver aún mejor. Esta línea morada ha servido como soporte todo este tiempo. Una vez que la perdimos, venimos a retestearla. ¿Y qué pasa cuando vienes a retestear algo por primera vez? Te rechaza, ¿no? Y aquí estás teniendo el rechazo que ni siquiera pudo tocar el promedio de las 200 y la bajada. ¿Y qué es lo que estamos viendo ahora? Puedes ver como en esta zona donde juntamos todos estos bajos, esta zona pivote y además este comienzo del subidón, rechazo y luego el subidón. En esta zona que está en los 22.77, puedes ver como el 21, el 55 y el 34, los promedios, se vienen a juntar. Lo que nosotros pensamos en todas las temporalidades, para no hacerles el cuento tan largo con lo de Donald J. Trump, porque lo pueden ver en diferentes temporalidades, etcétera, lo que nosotros pensamos que va a pasar, que tiene la jugada con más probabilidades es sencilla, es este rechazo, venir a intentar colgarte de la zona de los 26, probablemente ranguear tantito y luego venir a buscar esta zona de los 22, 21 dólares. Eso es el movimiento que nosotros vemos claro. Ahora, ¿qué está pasando? Estás creando altos más bajos y bajos más bajos de lo pasado, por lo que sigues en tendencia bajista. Entonces, esto pudo haber sido simplemente un rebote para crear un alto más bajo y ahora va a dar continuación al movimiento. Déjame rápidamente veo. Sí, y aparte volatilidad está hasta a tope, ¿no? Lo pueden ver acá. Volatilidad está a tope y va a tener que bajar, lo que nos dice que muy probablemente lo que estamos viendo es justamente eso. Y ahí lo tienen, damas y caballeros. El gran Donald J. Trump. By the way, boys, what a fucking pump. Let us go.
Yeah, this is it's looking good.
Very pumpy. I like pumpy Fridays.
Let's see. Yeah, almost
About
at
to hit 69K.
such a nice number.
Hey, congratulations to everyone that got into the Solana trade too.
And yeah, so it's looking pretty good actually. We gave that out in the Discord last night, so it's nice to see, especially on the 2-day. It's looking pretty good. Fresh silver cross as well. 55 wants to load. Yeah, so that is nice to see, especially with potentially this hammerhead forming, and this is closing in 8 hours. It's looking good. And BWP giving us a setup. We'll see.
Wait, you know what? The one thing that I'm thinking is now that we're heading towards 69 on Bitcoin, how many people are going to try to short? And that could absolutely just end up horribly bad for everyone that's shorting.
No, it's true.
Could be a massive increase.
Yeah, we could, like we could see a Bitcoin move here where people expect a pullback just like we did in 2023. We never got it. We just blast through. But we'll see the reaction here. Almost there. So
almost there. Almost fucking there. Come on.
All right, let me go.
Bumpy Fridays. Not gas. That's what we're doing. Here we go.
Nice. Yeah, so natural gas, I think I looked at this last stream, talked about a pullback. Across the board, energy was looking bearish to me, and it still is. And as we're seeing the follow through, we're still in this channel here. And so currently we're at support. If we start losing this, especially on a weekly closure, currently major support for me is at $2.16, $2.17. If we start losing that, then it opens up retesting this meme diagonal at $2. That for me will be the third tap, and we'll have to look at that as potentially a breakdown, and then that could lead us all the way back down to easily $1.60, $1.70, in my opinion. It's not good that, we basically formed the shooting star at this EMA 100 after, a nice trek up. We then got the follow through. We now are breaking down, losing all major moving averages like the 9, the 21, the 34. And so assuming that bulls just hold it here and we don't lose, let's say that $2.70, it would make sense for at least natural gas to maybe open up next week on a bounce. We'll see where these moving averages come. I wonder if they'll start clustering on open where the 9 just meets the 34 and the 21, giving us like a higher probability of a rejection there. That's kind of what I'd be watching, assuming that we hold this $2.17. If we start losing it, then I'll have to look at that as resistance, and I'll let price prove that to me. But this weekly wasn't good, and this rejection here would have been your sign that, okay, yeah, just like here, every time we've tested this, front ran it here, we didn't actually test it after breaking down. So you would have been very aware that, usually when we front run things, people call that in their book, like, okay, we're good. Like we hit it the level. But in my opinion, I've noticed that these just end up being like little traps, you know, and then like the real move happens when we actually hit it, you know, and people just start forgetting the level where they get complacent. You know, and so we did hit it 3 weeks ago, massively rejected. Now we're getting the follow through. We're at a very precarious spot for natural gas. This is kind of where bulls want to pick up. You know, we know that the monthly too is looking pretty horrendous. This could easily start engulfing, and we really wouldn't want to lose this 9. This would be a massive bull trap. What happened in September, especially if we deviated the 9. We would have also been very cautious with the fact that, you know, every time rallies up to that 21 would reject at the top of this channel as well. You know, just more points for bears and more points for bulls to be cautious. Curious to see how the 2-week looks, because the weekly looks just terrible. You know, the 2-week was looking okay, especially after that EMA 34 reclaim. But, you know, just like every single time it's reclaimed it, you know, we essentially just deviate it and massively go down, deviated it, go down. So, you know, that's just kind of what we're getting again. And it's funny to see because, you know, sometimes these patterns and just history, they do just end up correlating easily. And that's why what we wouldn't want is, you know, us to lose this $2.17 like each time. Granted, you know, we still held the diagonal, but for me, if we end up losing that, you know, and we hit the diagonal at, let's say, $2, you know, that still would be a 9% dump. You know, and then we'd basically be hoping that this holds after multiple tests, and this could just end up breaking down. Really not getting anything with momentum, you know, and as it stands, it's just not looking good. So today's closure will be pretty important for natural gas. You know, we do see it also, which is nice confluence where, you know, that daily SMA 200, what happened last time we lost it, you know, and now it's lining up nicely with that $2.16, $2.17 right here. You know, and for me, when I see this and I kind of see what I'm doing on the weekly, the monthly, and we know this level is pretty big for natural gas, you know, it's kind of like it's good confluence. If the daily starts closing under $2.16, then I'll start looking at that as like a first sign of a breakdown potentially. You know, this is kind of the area we want to see. This was massive resistance for a very long time since we lost it July 2024. You know, rejected here, here. We then reclaimed it. You know, we retested it. So now this is support in my book. You know, we've come all the way back down. This is now lining up nicely with this zone, you know, which is big support for natural gas. So we really want to start seeing bulls step up and at least start going and reclaiming that 21. We can start doing that on a daily. It'll start looking good. And then for me, you know, potentially trekking up to this, you know, major rejection high at like $2.59, you know, could be nice, giving us more momentum to break through right at this zone. But bulls have full control of this. And if we just quickly look here at a 3-month, you know, the trend is still down, you know, so we still want to respect the trend. And, you know, just another point of confluence to us is we're rejecting that, you know, quarterly 9 now, you know, and lined up nicely with that diagonal. So it's just not a good sign. The quarterly doesn't look good. You know, we've closed 2 green quarterlies. You know, last time that happened, we massively dumped. It's just interesting to see that because it's kind of all in the same tight range that natural gas has been in for you know, years now. So, you know, it's kind of, I'd really be defensive in this zone. I wouldn't put all your, you know, eggs in one basket that this SMA 200 is going to hold. I'd want it to prove to me that it does. And how that would work is, you know, we just want this to kind of chill out, just like what we were talking about with Rivian, like just consolidate and chill, reset the oscillators, let this start coming down, give us another setup to where maybe we can get that up, and then we start forming a base and we get expansion, giving these moving averages the chance to actually come down and meet price. Because, you know, from this point on, even like going back and testing that EMA 100, you know, a nice 6% move, still massive resistance. So that's kind of all I have with natural gas. It's still bearish to me. It's kind of at the last spot before a major breakdown could occur. We really want to see that daily SMA 200 hold, and we're currently at it now. So we'll kind of get some clarity on this closure today, which will line up with the weekly and the 2-week closing. And as long as the weekly is under the 9 now, I'm very bearish on natural gas, and I'll look at next week as a potential open to a pump, and we'll see kind of where this 9 goes. Maybe it clusters right around that $2.20, $2.23. But ideally, I'm looking at that as going to be probably a rejection point. So, you know, I'm not too bullish on this. I do think that potentially, like you're saying, Alejandro, that 160 could act as an opportunity, 150 to 160, maybe even all the way to like that 170. But as long as we're still rejecting and we're still potentially in the midst of a breakdown, I have to look at, once we lose this $2 psychological zone, we're going to take this low out. We're just going to mega dump. And then this is, for me, in my system, the last stand before we go to the shit abyss of a chart. And we kind of just forget about it until something happens. Unless right? Because like with this stuff, I feel like it's more fundamental based and news based. And, unless you follow this very closely and you kind of know what the like economics are behind it.
It really is one of those things that you have to get into the newsletters and like the conferences that they have about energy and natural gas. Because that reading that it's better than reading any chart. I knew we were going to bottom just simply based on those, because a friend of mine was sharing all of the insight with me.
Right. That's why I say it, like it's different from a shit coin or even a shit chart. Because like this is very like what you're saying to just data presented to you, news driven. And it's very like, I'm not going to sit and do the time to research that, but I know you have, Alejandro, and you've talked about this. So, I do think then in that case, like a buying opportunity could happen. Potentially, but as it stands, it's not good. This is funny to see on the 6-month massive rejection. On the 12-month even. So we'll just see kind of where this goes. Lastly, I'll just look at the 2-day and 5-day. I'm just curious personally. I already looked at the 5-day, so I'll look at the 2-day. And yeah, the 2-day is just heavy. It is. I'm not really getting anything with BBWP, so it's just heavy. We're just in the midst of a potential breakdown here. It's kind of the last stand, so we really want to see if bulls can pick up and just hold it. Let these start coming down, and then that can start maybe pushing us up to test the zone again. We do come back up here, we have a good chance of breaking this, in my opinion, because we do end up coming back above. If we end up going and testing $2.70, we're now like flipped the daily back above the moving averages. Fully. We potentially here on the weekly as well are gonna reclaim the 9 if we do that, and to me that'd be really nice, because then it could be bled into the monthly, reclaiming that 21, a big spot for this chart that we keep rejecting. So that's why if we do end up coming back up here, I'll be more convinced we'll get maybe a breakout or a bigger pump. But as it stands right now, this is looking like it's about to break down. I'm glad that we did warn about this, because I was pretty bearish on just energy and oil as a whole. Usually, I'm usually right most times. We're most times on stocks and stuff, but with energy, gold, and shit like that, I am. It can look so bearish, and then just a green dildo comes the next day, and I'm just like, oh wow, glad I didn't short that shit.
Yeah. And you never want to fuck around with nat gas on extreme bets. Like I feel like this is something you buy without any leverage when it's at a really good spot, and you just hold for a while, because nat gas is known as the widowmaker, because it destroys everyone, because it moves however the fuck it feels like. So if you're looking at a chart, this is the one time that I'll say perhaps the chart's not going to give you the edge. The edge is going to be, like you said, the news, the information that you're getting, the fact that that there's oversupply, it's undersupply, they're having problems distributing it, etc. That's when it makes sense. To me, the opportunity comes after, hopefully after, not right now, and we're still going to be able to get towards the area of like 1.8, 1.6, because then I'd be very comfortable buying this shit and holding it for however long, because I know that there's a big problem with Russia. I know that Europe has already figured out that they fucked up by subscribing to the idea that the United States was going to be their provider, and now they're going to Algeria. Now they're trying with Qatar. They're trying with everybody to buy fucking nat gas, but the reality is they're buying Russian nat gas again, and they're just going to do it through a third-party country, so that idiots in the real world don't understand that. Yeah, you sanctioned Russia, and you still.
That's what India is doing. India's buying Russian gas and reselling it to everybody at a profit.
Well, that's what they were doing with oil. Actually, Indian oil was like the favorite. And by the way, oil and gas, they go hand in hand, because normally where you pull out gas, you can pull out. Where you pull out oil, you can probably pull out gas. There's a high chance in the United States of what we do in parallel. This is why there's an oversupply of, or was an oversupply of natural gas. because we drilled for oil like a motherfucker last year. So, I mean, the opportunity is coming. It's just how low will it get? That's it.
And I agree with you. You don't really need leverage for this because it's making swings of like 50 to 20% pretty easily.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want this to catch you with your pants down. Pants on the ground, pants on the ground. Do you guys remember that fucking stupid ass song? Oh my God. You got to look up the homeless guy that went on like American Idol and goes like, pants on the ground, pants on the ground. Oh yeah, baby. Drink some of that water, people. I've yet to see the new bottles with the new labels. I haven't seen it yet. Very jealous. I've never touched one of those either.
Oh, I see. This is my favorite one because it just gives you. It's just clean. It looks nice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have a label that can fall off.
That's right. And it's also better for recycling, unlike the other assholes that say that their bottle's completely recycled and it's blue or green. If it's blue or green, it's not completely recyclable again. Pieces of shit. Either way. LAC. Is AI a share? Yeah, right? I can't remember which one, but I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't know.
I think it is, yeah.
AI.
Yeah, I think. It's funny. I think there was a bull moon recently.
Yeah, today's super.
Well, yeah, today. Yeah.
I thought the 17th, so it was yesterday.
Saw it. Well, this morning
yesterday.
I watch it on. I watch the moon in the mornings because at night I go to sleep before it comes out, and I wake up too fucking early. So at 4 a.m, you walk out and you see it like in its full glory. It was gorgeous.
It was nice.
Gorgeous.
It's in boomer timing.
That's right. Thank you, sir. It'll happen to you too. You'll see. You won't become a billionaire, but you'll wake up early and be cold.
But then I'll have to get a refund from Alex Becker.
I hope he gives me a refund because I today I tried another time like the ice bath on my face, and I didn't become a billionaire, which is weird, but I guess we'll figure it out soon.
We got to collect the what do you call it? The invoices for him to refund both of us.
That's right. We'll be sending those puppies out as soon as we're done with this live stream. Vale. Estamos viendo gas natural. Les voy a poner la mensual rápidamente para que puedan darse una idea de qué exactamente es lo que estamos viendo en las tablas. Y en la mensual pueden ver que hemos estado en una tendencia bajista desde haber tocado estos máximos en $10. Hemos estado cayendo, consolidando, cayendo, consolidando, cayendo, consolidando. Y ahora vamos a ver qué sigue. Estamos justamente en este triángulo ascendente. Nos vamos a acercar rápidamente. Voy a prender mis indicadores para que puedan darse cuenta que hemos perdido literalmente en la mensual absolutamente el 9, el 21, el 55, el 100, absolutamente todos. Nos vamos a acercar un poco más en la semanal. En la semanal es un poco de lo mismo, pero esta nos cuenta una buena historia porque pueden ver cómo el 100 nos está rechazando aquí arriba y es lo que nos ha llevado aquí abajo, creando un alto más bajo que este, pero estás creando bajos más altos. Esta es la pregunta que tenemos ahorita. Esto es justamente el qué va a pasar acá. Es tan importante porque puede llegar a esta línea sin ningún problema a los $2, seguir haciendo un bajo más alto y luego subir. O sea, aquí es donde viene el truco. Yo creo que lo mejor lo puedes ver en la diaria. ¿Por qué? Porque en la diaria puedes ver que hemos perdido todos los promedios, pero justamente ahorita está intentando agarrarse el promedio de las 200, que está en 2.17. El gas natural está cotizando en 2.19. Si pierdes esto y tienes dos cierres, digamos abajo esta línea meme verde, en 2.16, si tienes dos cierres abajo de eso, tu siguiente objetivo va a estar por acá en los dos planos y luego, si llegas a barrer esos dos planos, 1.8. 1.8 y de ahí 1.6. Por ahorita, el gas natural se ve más alcista que bajista, pero con todos los en la tabla, por simplemente la estructura que está formando, pero simplemente viendo todos los promedios, viendo que la volatilidad literalmente no está yendo a ningún lado, está como en zona de nadie, en el 77%, y que va a continuar tal cual, no vemos dónde vaya a haber un un repunte de esto con todo. Así que atención al gas natural, su nivel importante es el 2.16. Si lo pierdes, prepárate para ver más downside. Si lo aguantas y empiezas a consolidar acá, que es justamente lo que Alex decía, eso va a ser muy bueno para todos porque eso te dice, creaste nuevos bajos más altos y eso te puede propulsar al siguiente nivel del trade. Así que atención con este nivel, sería bueno para long con un shortstop abajo del 2.16, aunque recuerden, puede venir a simplemente mecharte para sacarte. También puedes hacer corto una vez que pierdas el promedio de las 200, caigas abajo de esto y en el retesteo de la línea es cuando haces un corto. Y ahí lo tienen, damas y caballeros. Pues vale, vale pues. This is LAC.
Lithium Americas Corporation. I'm guessing they make battery packs.
Probably, or at least the batteries.
All right, let's do it the quarterly. So the quarterly on the last quarter ended up making this doji after a very long downtrend, which signals indecision and very likely possible mean reversion bounce to the upside. And what supports the idea of a mean reversion is that we tapped the 100% and we're still at the 95%. So we're very likely to move up to, at the very least, test the 88.3, while the ranges move down, and then we get more closer to this blue 38.2% range. A retest of this 88.3 would also line up with this 5 EMA, which I would expect to be significant resistance because we've been projecting it this entire way down. The 5 EMA has been resistance ever since July of 2022, when the price was at $16.22. Now it's at $3.15. 5 EMA has been resistance. So I would expect it to continue to be resistance. It's currently at $4.78. So even touching the 5 EMA would be a pretty decent move from here. That would be like 49 to 50% from here to touch the 5 EMA. This thing moves like a shit coin, moving up 50%, dumping like 90%, 99%. But what number is this? 91.91%. We're moving up 50%. That's pretty crazy. And then
pretty Bitcoin-like.
Yeah, and what supports the idea of that move up is that right now HBR momentum is flipping back up from extreme numbers. It went all the way down to 90. What number is that? 99.87%. Now it's flipping back up and it's above this moving average, while the volatility is flipping down. Since this is a quarterly, this is going to take a very long time to play out. But statistically, as of right now, it would have a target of the median. So the median currently, I don't think this is going to happen. I think this is going to take a couple of quarters to play out, and then these ranges are going to move down. So the median is going to be significantly lower. But as of right now, this median is at $19.73. This number is only what's the word? It's only relevant if this move plays out all in the same quarter. So very likely it doesn't play out this quarter. Yeah, right. You can't just get this how much percent move in 2 months. Unfair. 533% can't happen in 2 months. The scam. I quit. I want a refund.
What if he does? And then we're sitting here like total fucking idiots and someone took the trade.
It was like, you fucking retards.
Yeah.
I should
He
be
was
doing
right
the
on
live
your
stream.
chart.
Not you idiots. But probably takes like I would say 3 or 4 quarters to play out. Then this median is going to move down. Who knows where it'll be at that point? To say it'll be purely guessing, I would, if I'm purely guessing, I would say it would probably move down somewhere around like $6.70 to $7, possibly $7.70. But I don't think it would be any higher than that to retest these major EMAs. Monthly is giving the same idea of that mean reversion bounce because now we're finally over this 5 EMA, which we've been rejecting on the monthly since around, what is this, December of 2023. So if we close over that, then we would have a probability of coming back up to retest this 38.2%, which right now is at 5.37. Weekly is giving us the same idea of the continuation towards the upside a little bit for a bounce on the higher time frames, since we're over the 21 EMA. And if we do close over that, which is currently at 3.13, we're only over it by 1 cent. We have 3 hours and 43 minutes to go. then we would target this 55, and that one is right around that $5 number as well. Check our HBR momentum. HBR momentum is pointed towards the upside. We're breaking into the bullish control zone. Volatility is ticking up as well to 62%. So we still have a good amount of room to run for volatility before it taps out. So we could easily get up to that 55 EMA. The 2 days giving a little bit of a pullback right now. We got 3 days and 42 minutes to go. What we would want to hold is this 55 EMA on the closure, which is at $3.13. We're only over it by 1 cent currently. If we were to lose this 55, we're probably going to come back down to retest this 30.2% at the least, and that one's at $2.91. So we just hold, looking for this 55 to hold.
And that's where on the 3 day, there's the 34 and other averages right there too. Just saying confluence.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. I don't have the 34 on, so
Good for you. It's just fucking Alex's bullshit. Now I got like 30 billion EMAs and SMAs and fucking bullshit.
It's very useful. I just don't have it on mine. And the daily is giving us the same idea of a pullback because we put in this massive top candle and we were at the 95%. Currently, we're at the 78.6% and bouncing off this 100 EMA. So if we do keep closing over the 78.6%, then I would say the bottom is probably in short term, and these ranges do move up. Then we could retest this 200, but only if these ranges move up. Until these ranges move up, I would say the bottom is probably not in, and we probably continue downwards towards this 38.2%. But then the ranges can move up. The only thing that would have me convinced that this current low is the low is to see this 38.2% move into price action. Then I could say that we're probably have the local bottom in, so we can continue to retest this 200 and possibly break it at that point. Let's check the RSI. All right, so the weekly has how many? 1, 2, 3 drives of bullish divergence within the bearish control zone. That is a pretty powerful signal of a bounce from there. We've already broken over the middle zone, so we're very close to hitting the bullish control zone. That would be our first target. And the bullish control zone is at $3.53. And since we're still so low on volatility is starting to expand now. It's above the moving average on BBWP, and we're only at 32.994%. So while that does confirm volatility expansion, it doesn't get us anywhere near where volatility would be topped out, anywhere around the high 90% area. So we can still move up around 60% before volatility is tapped out. That tells us that we probably hit the bullish critical zone. And the bullish critical zone right now is at $6.44. Does that line up with any of our EMAs? No. But at that point, the 100 will have moved down because this is going to take several weeks. So I'm guessing at that point, this 100 is currently at $7-ish area. I'm guessing it'll be right around that point. But that's just a guess. But who knows where it moves down to. 5-day also has 3 drives of bullish divergence. We've currently hit the bullish control zone already, the RSI, which is at $3.98. So right now we're at the middle zone. If we do hold this middle zone, then we would expect to hit the bullish critical zone. And right now that bullish critical zone is at $6.87. That lines up more with the currently weekly 5 EMA. 3-day also has 3 drives of bullish divergence. 2-day has hidden bullish divergence at the middle zone, but we've already hit the bullish critical zone. So we would expect a pullback here, which we're getting now, which we want that 55 EMA to hold. We're currently now 2 cents above it. So hey, maybe hopium is alive.
Yeah.
And daily, that's invalidated. So we had some bearish divergence, but now we've put in a local bottom. So the short-term timeframes are looking like we do correct, and right now we are getting the correction. What I'm waiting to see is if we close over $3.13 or not. If we do, then it would increase my confidence that the current low is the local bottom. Oh my God, this cat just knocked down the plant.
Repeat the last thing one more time, please.
So yeah, as long as we stay above $3.13, that would improve my confidence that the current low is the local bottom, and then that we continue to test higher prices, and then see if we can continue with the trend for the macro and the longer term, in the monthly and the quarterly. But as of right now, I would expect to see correction, which we're getting now, and the close, I believe, is in how many hours? Like 3 hours? Yeah, 3 hours,
3
38
hours and
minutes.
38 minutes.
So I would expect within 3 hours and 38 minutes, as long as we're above 313. If we close below 313, then I would be looking for a deeper pullback.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And you just did that. Blah, 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 blah. AI. Bank of America.
BAC, I believe.
Alrighty. Aquí tenemos LAC, que es Lithium America Corporation, y bastante sencillo. Yo creo que la mejor tabla para enseñarte esto es literalmente la de 2 días, donde el promedio de las 55 se encuentra en los 3.13. De acuerdo a los indicadores de Farhan de momentum y volatilidad, esto podría empezar a ser el principio del fondo. ¿Por qué? Porque pueden ver acá cómo, saben que voy a usar el brochecito. Tienes esto, un bajo más alto, bajo más alto, bajo más alto, bajo más alto. Y por si eso no es suficiente, tienes alto, alto más alto, alto más alto y sobre todo que esto. Entonces ya eliminaste toda esta estructura y tiene cara alcista. Siguiente objetivo van a ser los 4.11, que es justamente donde encontramos la siguiente resistencia, pero esto es lo que no queremos. Pueden ver que todos estos promedios están bonchados aquí abajo. Muy probablemente tengamos una corrección a cierto punto por acá a los 2.90 y cacho, pero simplemente va a ser en lo que el movimiento es lateral. Lo que esperamos es que el movimiento continúe hacia arriba, simplemente basado en, no sé si volatilidad en esta tabla. ¡Ay, qué pendejo soy! Un segundo. Ahora sí. Volatilidad en esta tabla, no, era que la semanal, sí, en la semanal podemos darnos cuenta cómo la volatilidad está aquí abajo y apenas está empezando a subir, se encuentra justamente en 32.54, lo que nos puede llevar mucho, mucho más arriba y eso empujaría empujaría el precio aún más. Estamos por encima del promedio de las 9, muy probablemente vengamos a retestear el del 34 y en la semanal se ve bastante prometedor. Vamos a ver rápidamente la mensual. La mensual nos dice que va a tomarse un descansito, pero una vez más, está justamente el promedio de las 5, que es una de las cosas más importantes para que el precio de algo sea alcista, es poder cerrar encima de. Entonces, queremos un cierre esta semana. Digo, en este mes, arriba de 3.11 y también en la diaria nos gustaría ver eso, honestamente, porque justamente estamos encima de todos los promedios. Y de nuevo, aquí es donde pensamos que puede haber un pullback en esta zona, siempre y cuando no elimines estos bajos en los 2.62. Esto empieza a sentirse que va a ser alcista. Así que puede que estemos haciendo un piso. Lo único que tenemos que hacer es poder aguantar esta zona de los 3.11 y poder estar por encima de tener varios cierres ahí saludables en diferentes temporalidades es lo que estamos buscando. Así que ahí lo tienes, un poco más alcistas que bajistas en esto. Y de nuevo, para ser bajista es fácil, lo único que tienes que romper es los 260 para abajo y decir, ok, probablemente la estructura no se está formando y esto simplemente fue un nuevo alto más bajo y va a continuar para abajo. Así que por ahora más alcistas que bajistas en esto. AI.
Okay, cool. Let me go here. Nice. So yeah, I've been looking at this whole time. You know, it's like a shitcoin. It moves like one, but it's a stock. You know, yeah, 2020. I mean, this thing came alive. Unfortunately, it didn't really reap much of the AI benefits that we saw this year with everything pumping. But you know, it's not looking the worst. I'll start with the daily and move down the time frame. So, you know, the daily right now is at pretty big resistance. You know, we've been kind of flirting with it. We can just see after we lost this SMA 200, we basically broke down. You know, so it's welcoming to see from this SFP. We quickly reclaimed it. And, you know, we rejected the top of the channel. Unfortunately, we lost this SMA 200 and it's just been acting as resistance. The hopium here is, you know, the fact that we have a silver cross to the upside, we are holding the EMA 9. So in my opinion, if we can get back above this SMA 200 on a daily closure, then I do think we're going to test this area again at $27.40. And then we run the risk of maybe breaking this out. If this can actually break out and hold, then I do think we'll go and test $30. And that'll be a pretty big region to determine if we're going to get a bigger squeeze or not. And, why I'm more bearish on this is just the fact that on the higher time frames, we've just basically been rejecting the 9 for a very long time. And we've actually never been above it. And so what's nice about this setup is if we do start reclaiming that $30.70 zone, it basically, that'd be not the biggest bump either. In 2 months, assuming, let's say we end up getting the weekly, monthly, and then the quarterly back above it. Well, that'll be the first time this has ever happened. This will also be like a symmetrical triangle range break from a quarterly standpoint, which could, usually you get these, maybe in a trend shift to up. They can break down, but I think they have a greater chance of breaking up since it's symmetrical. So ideally, this is pretty nice because this 9 is basically lining up that $30 zone. So that'll just give us good confluence that, if we do start reclaiming that, holding that $30 zone, and it bleeds into the quarterly, then I do think we can test this $40 zone pretty easily, which from that would be a pretty sizable move. And that's why I'm saying it moves like a shit coin. We get big swings from the up and to the down, but obviously not in 1 month. More like end of this year, maybe into 2025. But right, as long as the hopium here is, we're putting in a monthly bullish hammerhead. We basically are still under the EMA 9, so that's why we still are under resistance. But this chart is close to potentially giving us a decision. If this channel or symmetrical triangle is going to work, we should get a decision right around the end of the year. So I'll be watching this closely actually, because this will be interesting to see where it goes. But it's still under resistance. As long as we're under the monthly 9, weekly EMA 9, this chart is bearish. And especially since we've steadily been rejecting that quarterly 9, there's really not a reason to think this is going to break out to the upside, other than maybe a big long short squeeze. But that's just hopium. And for now, I mean, we've been consolidating, but the macro trend is still down, and we're just chopping. We basically made this major low here back in April 2023 at $16.79. It's welcoming to see. Last quarterly, we didn't break that. So that's going to be kind of the bull's hopium to break this up and maybe get structure. For me, I do think a bigger move can come once we start breaking. Let me go to the monthly. Once we start breaking this $33.20 zone, I do think a bigger move can come. And what's nice, that's kind of lining up with that monthly SMA 200. No, wait, is that the 34? Yeah, my apologies. So that's, there's not enough data for that SMA 200. So the monthly 34 is, for what we have, it's been a rejection zone. So I'd just be eyeing this zone here, because if we end up breaking that, for me, I'll be looking at this potentially a trend shift, of it going in a downtrend to an uptrend, and this potentially could be looked at as maybe a higher low, but it's obviously unconfirmed and it's obviously more bearish. As long as we're under the simple 9, it's easy. And then, we know that this channel at the top has major resistance at that monthly 21. So, ideally with AI, you're kind of just waiting for a decision at this point, while the weekly is resetting, while the 5 days as well. And it's even basing now, which is, or not really, I guess it looked like it was here. But I do think the 3 day is, let me see. No, so 3 day is expanding. So, it's at a very big point. I do think a big move can come from AI, considering we've been in this basically 2-year channel almost. So it's something to watch. We're kind of at a decision. If we end up breaking down, I'd really watch then for, a full breakdown potentially, and going back to this $15 zone, a massive move up or down we're dealing with. I do think if we end up breaking down, the confirmation will be breaking this low here that happened in September. If we end up doing that, I do think we're going to end up testing this $15 to $13 zone. From there, it'll be pretty important for it to hold. If it doesn't, it's going to look pretty bad overall, because if we slap that to the 6 month, this will full on make this wick body. This will basically fill the wick body to a full body, and then we'll basically be dealing with these lows, these ominous lows, and that's not really what bulls want to test. So that $15, $13 zone is going to be pretty important, and it would be a big breakdown from that point. It'd still be from the first support 31%. So that's kind of all I see with AI. It's just at the point right now where it is at major resistance. We are getting some setups on the weekly and 5-day. The 3-day is expanding, but one thing to note on the 3-day with that expansion is, we could start turning over around that 50%. So, maybe price does break up a little bit, and it easily can trap bulls and even break out. As long as we don't, that's why I'm saying it's probably safer to wait until we reclaim that $30 zone. Because something we don't want to see, which is at least common in Bitcoin land, is we usually get a fake move and then fall back in and then reject. That traps bulls waiting for this breakout, and then we just reject it. Usually happens with crypto. I haven't watched this enough to say what this does, but it's just predatory as the way this moves. So that's why I'm relating it to crypto. But I do think, we start like reclaiming this and basing off of it. Just like zooming out, that'll look pretty good. And it'll also mean that this quarterly potentially is reclaiming the 9, something that hasn't been done this entire existence of this chart. So then I'd be looking at that as a pretty good trigger if the quarterly does end up reclaiming that. But for now, 2 months, so we'll just take it on like a 5-day. I do think if the 5-day starts holding that $30 zone, then that's an easy long short because you know exactly where you're wrong. Cut the trade if we start losing that 5-day EMA 100. So it's almost there at the decision point. We'll know soon if this symmetrical triangle is wrong or not, just based on if it just keeps consolidating. But I'd want to see some volatility soon based on this. And it either comes with breaking this low, breaking this low here, or, breaking up and reclaiming this $30 zone. Both opportunities, in my opinion, that can reap good rewards. I just think it's better to be patient on this.
Well done, sir. Thank you. And I got Enovix for you. Vale, aquí estamos viendo AI, damas y caballeros. Enovix, ENVX.
Nice, I got it.
Aquí estamos viendo AI, lo estamos viendo en una gráfica trimestral. Sabemos que acaba de salir apenas en octubre del 2020 y ha estado como cualquier cosa que salió por esas fechas en caída extrema. Ha hecho mínimos en la zona de los $10.22 y en este momento está cotizando en 26.12 para cerrar esta vela que están viendo trimestral. Faltan 2 meses y 14 días, así que bastante tiempo. Lo primero que notamos es cuando vemos que algo está en un mercado alcista o bajista es cuando estás abajo del promedio de la 9. Y en esta temporalidad tan alta, sobre todo, es la mejor indicación de todo. El promedio de la 9 está en 30.55, lo que nos dice que esto es bajista todavía. Ahora, la volatilidad nos está diciendo que se está calentando un movimiento. El movimiento va a ser hacia arriba o hacia abajo. Todavía no decidimos. Lo que sí podemos ver todos juntos en esto es fácil, ¿no? Estás viendo estos altos, altos más bajos, altos más bajos, altos más bajos. Y acá viste bajos, bajos más bajos. Y la pregunta va a ser, porque estos bajos no los quebraste, ¿va a hacer esto y subir? ¿O va a hacer esto, esto y bajar con altos más bajos, etcétera? Obviamente tenemos que esperar a ver qué movimiento se da, pero para poder entender el movimiento yo creo podemos ir a la semanal y ver exactamente dónde se están dando todas estas cosillas. Puedes ver que el promedio de la 100 está justamente por esa zona de los 30 que está arriba de este triángulo. Nos gusta esa confluencia, sobre todo cuando volteamos a ver otras temporalidades como la de 5 días, igualito por ahí de los $30. ¿Qué otra tenía? Vamos a ver la de 2 semanas. Ahí tienes el promedio de las 55 en la de 2 semanas y hemos visto que sí le gusta tocarlo por ahí de los $30. Lo que nosotros pensamos es, el movimiento se va a dar, pero es fácil ver. Si eres bajista, quieres esperarte a romper este bajo que está en 18.90. Si eres alcista, quieres tener cierres de temporalidad más grande de 5 días arriba de 30, que es donde estamos viendo todos estos promedios pegar básicamente. Yo creo que es así de sencillo, no hay que buscarle 3 pies al gato. Vamos a ver rápidamente la diaria. Donde pueden ver, estamos peleando literalmente con el promedio de las 200 y toda esta confluencia por acá en los 24 me dicen, y el precio puede venirse hasta los 24 tranquilamente y después seguir, pero lo que nos daría certeza en cierre sería la tirada de estos bajos o cierres arriba de la 30 en temporalidades más altas de 5 días. Y ahí lo tienen. Interesante. Tiene cara que sí quiere llegar a los 30, pero yo no metería las manos aquí para los 30 porque no tienes una invalidación corta, ni tampoco para abajo en realidad. Tu única invalidación está aquí arriba en los 20, tal vez en los 27. Eh, pero también te puede engañar y hacer esto. Entonces tienes un rango bastante grande de error por acá para hacer un corto o un largo. Así que espérate mejor, sé paciente a los $30 a tener cierres por encima o simplemente limpiar estos mínimos por ahí de los 18.9 y decir bye bye a lo que vaya a pasar. Vale pues, tíos. Bank of America.
Bank of America. So should we start on the monthly? No, let's do the quarterly. So Bank of America on the quarterly actually does look pretty good. To where we opened up on the last quarter, we rejected the top 38.2%, and then we made a doji. But then we opened up this quarter above the top 38.2%. And then we got to move up. Right now, we've tapped the 61.8%, while momentum is freshly breaking into the bullish control zone of the HPDR momentum, and volatility is expanding upwards to support it. Volatility is only at 58%. So that tells us that we can hit the volatility can run a little bit significantly higher, like 40% more, because this thing goes to the 100%. So this can go up like 41, 42% more on volatility. That tells us we can hit the higher ranges on the HPDR. So from that low of volatility, I think we would very likely hit the 78.6 at the very least. And right now, the 78.6, it's at $51.25. And that would be a retest of these highs right here, which is, it would actually be over it by $2. The high is $50.11. So if you were to get any close over this candle's wick right here, $50.11, we probably come back up and test this high right here next, but probably a little bit higher, which is $55.08. But probably we go a little bit higher based off the volatility. Let's see if we have any previous data. We don't. So we have to use the HPDR, but probably because based off the volatility, we come up towards this 88.3%, which is currently at 56.64, anywhere between that and the 95%, which is currently at 62.45. And that's on the quarterly. So, and on the jewel on the quarterly, we're getting it's starting to flip around. It wasn't quite able to make it into the bearish control zone. It just made it to the edge. So it basically rejected getting into the bearish control zone. Now it's getting over the middle zone because it's at 54. Middle zone is at right about 50. And now we're approaching this pink moving average, the fast one. We would expect to find some type of resistance there unless it's extremely bullish and momentum is strongly with the bulls. It will probably find some resistance here. If momentum is strongly with the bulls, then it's not going to stop within the bullish control zone. It's going to make it into the bullish critical zone where it rejected last time. And on the monthly, the same thing as well, where we opened up above the pivot, which is the median. Now we're tapping this top 38.2%. We're not quite at it yet. It's at $44.01. If we get a close above that, though, then we're very likely going up. This thing likes to hit the 78.6%. So it would probably go up to the 78.6, which is currently at $51.05. I believe 51 was a significant number on the quarterly as well. Yeah, 51 was the top 78.6% on the quarterly. So that lines up with the monthly target as well as the quarterly. Momentum is shifting down on the quarterly right now, monthly, while volatility is shifting down as well. That would give us a target of the median, which we've already hit because the bottom of this candle is at the median. It is 38.73, which is a little bit below the median actually. So that'd be a perfect retest. And from there, I'm expecting momentum to reset on the next monthly open, right around this middle point, and then start to flip up from there. Then volatility would have reset as well. So that would give us enough energy and or juice and volatility to be able to get up to that $51 number. Weekly is also tapping the top 38.2%. See the momentum is shifting down on the weekly. Volatility is shifting down too. So that gives us a probability of, as long as we're closing below this 38.2%, which is 43.38, we're likely to come back down to test the median. Median's at $41.47. 2 days also giving that same idea that we probably come back down a little bit because we put in this top candle right here. Could be, yeah, a hanging man could be considered. So as long as we're below this candle's open, which is $43.23, we're very likely to come back down to retest this 38.2%, which lines up with the 9 EMA, which is at $41.10. And the HPDR momentum is starting to flip down from the bullish control zone, and the volatility is slipping down too. That also gives us more confluence that we're probably going to get a short-term pullback. Same thing with the daily, where as long as we're below $42.83, we're very likely to come back down and retest this 38.2%, which would also be a retest of this 21 EMA on this after 3 hours and 17 minutes when it moves up. That's going to be right around $41.10, that same area. Check the RSI.
Oh,
There we go. It disappeared for a second there.
we're back. Just like Bitcoin. Come on. Bitcoin.
You're gonna love your Bitcoins.
Have you had fun with your Bitcoin, everyone? That was my favorite thing ever. You're going to have a lot of fun with your Bitcoin.
And Ethereum. We love Ethereum.
Oh my God. So
I've heard Vitalik is a little bit of a lib, but we love Ethereum.
Oh, he does love to eat dick. Oh no, to be pegged. I'm sorry. That's the story. He's the
Who knows,
peg master.
Maybe he eats it too.
Could be. I mean, if you're over
Yeah, I don't
getting
judge.
it,
I don't
if they're
judge.
feeding it to you from one way, from one hole, what's the other one gonna do, right?
Right.
Like, come on.
On the quarterly, we are getting hidden bullish divergence right here, right at the edge of the bullish control zone. So that makes it very likely that we will tap it. We already tapped it right here. So the next time we tap the bullish control zone, we probably break well into it and go to the bullish critical zone. The bullish control zone sits at $53.99. And if we were to get a solid close above that, then our next target is the bullish critical zone. And that one's significantly higher from price action right now. It's at $101.85. But from that point, volatility would start expanding. And since volatility is so low, it's in the low 40s, that move to the $100 area would not be out of the question. It would the volatility is so low on such a high time frame as the quarterly that we would probably be able to get to that $100 number.
Damn.
Monthly has multiple drives of bullish divergence confirmed within the bearish control zone, right at the edge of the bearish control zone. So, but we've already basically hit all of the easy targets because we're already at the bullish critical zone. The number for the bullish critical zone is 42.25. So we won't really be able to get any useful targets off of the monthly. Weekly has confirmed multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence right at the neutral middle point. So our first target from there would likely be the bullish control zone. And that number is at 46.82. And the next target from there, because we're working with such low volatility, is at 16.9%. We'd likely hit the bullish critical zone. And that level is at $66.46. And then the Joules, the VMP's Joule oscillator is starting to flip back around. And it's already over the pink. So next move is very likely is going to enter the bullish control zone. And because we've tested the bullish critical zone so many times, three taps, and we move down, we're very likely on the next go around to break into the bullish critical zone, which will give us what we need to get to that $66 number. 5-day also has multiple drives. 3-day, no. The daily has confirmed the drive of bullish divergence at the middle point, but it's already played out completely because it's already tapped the bullish critical zone and we're nearing extremes on the volatility. So what I'm seeing is that on the short term, we're likely going to pull back a little bit and reset the volatility and momentum indicators. And then the long term is going to play out very likely. Our divergences on the monthly and the quarterly to end up getting our move up. First target I would have based on the divergences somewhere around $66. And then above that would be about $100.
Very nice, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enovix, NatGas. We got new holdings.
NU.
NU. Vale, aquí estamos viendo Bank of America para básicamente hacerles el cuento no tan cansado. Ahí les va. Tenemos en diferentes temporalidades, sobre todo en las de largo plazo, la idea que como volatilidad, déjenme ver si lo podemos ver acá, exactamente, volatilidad está reseteándose básicamente en estos timeframes, nos está diciendo que está preparándose para poder dar un movimiento bastante agresivo hacia la zona de arriba. Y eso, lo que vimos en el HPDR, es exactamente la historia que cuenta, sobre todo cuando volteas a ver aquí en la semanal. ¿Qué es lo importante y qué es los niveles que estamos buscando en todos lados? Básicamente, es simplemente consolidar. Viene sobre todo, lo han visto, ¿no? Estás en una tendencia clara alcista que lleva bastante tiempo y veniste, hiciste este alto. Luego, este bajo no rompió este bajo, lo que nos está indicando que va a continuar esto y muy probablemente, en realidad lo que estamos buscando es un cierre por arriba del 40.61 del promedio de la semanal en el 9, que es más o menos por acá. Lo pondré en el 40.86. Simplemente el precio puede ranguear tantito. Se ve que a corto plazo tiene que resetear la volatilidad para poder dar el movimiento. Y después ya continuará y dará continuación a esto hacia la alza. Estamos, tu primera confirmación de esto, y aparte aquí hay una oportunidad de short que la invalida súper rápido, la puedes poner justamente aquí y si sube a 44.64, olvídalo porque estarías eliminando esto, pero también hay una oportunidad de long y la puedes eliminar a la baja, así que yo diría que tienes más por probabilidad porque tienes un cruce plateado y aparte estás por encima del promedio de la 9, del 21 y todo se está reseteando para poder continuar y dar continuación al movimiento en grandes temporalidades. Esto se ve alcista de a madre, pero de a madre. Creemos que tranquilamente puede llegar a los 60 en unos meses y está en 42.54, es lo que estamos viendo. Importante nivel a no perder, estos 40.83 y no romper este bajo de 35.20. Esos son los no-nos para los alcistas y son los sí-sís para los bajistas. Ahí lo tienen, damas y caballeros, como de que no vamos a pasar rápidamente a Enovix. You know what? Before we do Enovix, let me just do a shameless plug, because why not? Why not, son? Why not? Vale. Dense una vuelta a nuestro Discord. Para todos ustedes que quieran aprender de trading, es completamente gratis. Se llama Elite Trading Academy. Les voy a poner el enlace por aquí arriba rápidamente en los banners. Únanse al Discord. Una vez más, es completamente gratis. Aquí estamos casi 4,000 personas compartiendo ideas, donde puedes ver aquí a la izquierda los análisis de Alex, tal cual, continuando en lo que estamos por acá. Igual Farhan aquí anda. Nuestro chat general aquí lo tienen. También tenemos nuestras... Ven a compartir cuánto dinero estás haciendo, brother. Como acá Charlie se llevó un 63%. Nada mal, Charlie, güey. No seas mamón. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
How can you use a 125X?
Hopefully on cross.
Holy shit balls.
That's like
Dude, this...
half a percentage point of a percentage point liquidated.
Yeah, basically. That's insane. Good for him. Bien por este tío. Bien por ti, Kenneth. Y también por Gilardo, que llevarte 90% en un trade no es nada malo. Vengan a pedirnos tablas como de que no. También vengan a darnos su testimonial si han aprendido algo. Vengan a compartir noticias con nosotros para que sepamos cuándo se va a acabar el mundo todos juntos. Vengan, hagan preguntas. Vengan a decir simplemente hola. Dense una vuelta a Elite Trading Academy. Para todos ustedes que quieren tradear con nosotros Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, cualquier criptomoneda, Tienen acá nuestros 2 exchanges donde somos socios. Denle un clic y van a poder participar en actividades de la comunidad bastante pronto ya. En realidad tenemos BitGet, que funciona en todo el mundo menos Estados Unidos y requiere identificación, y tenemos Bluffing, que funciona en literalmente todo el mundo incluyendo Estados Unidos y no requiere identificación. Aquí tienen los enlaces. Eres fan de TradingView, lo puedes usar gratis, pero si empiezas a aprender y quieres todavía agregar más cosas a tu TradingView, te va a costar, y si te va a costar, usa este enlace para que te den un $15 de descuento y otras cosas. Aquí lo tienen todo, absolutamente todo. Somos el E-Trading Academy. Dense una vuelta, damas y caballeros, como chingados, no. All right, Alex. Sorry.
No, all good. Yeah, this chart, I mean, this is just so boring. I mean, it's just so choppy to me. It's
range.
All this has ever done is just that, literally. So with what we're working with, I mean, we're still steadily in a weekly downtrend. The hopium here is that this support right at $8.50, or even granted this low here that was formed on September 9th, right at basically $7.34, is going to act as like a macro low. The only issue with that is we always get these kind of like, bounce, like dumps that don't break the low, and then we get a mean reversion bounce to the weekly EMA 100, and then that's what breaks the low. So I'm still cautious, but the chart is trying to look better. We see this weekly, and it really will depend on this weekly, because the issue was, this weekly last week had a very nice close. But unfortunately, this week opened massively red, and it's deviating now. This is looking like a SFP or deviation, very much like what happened here. We reclaimed that EMA 100 on the weekly, and then in the following week, we end up losing it. The hopium here is, I guess we're holding the moving averages, but the issue is, now this is going to act as resistance. So this is technically, if this closes under this EMA 100 after reclaiming it, is technically giving me a short trigger of a retest of that, flipping that to resistance. Also, if we go to let me go to the 2 days, looks better. The 2 days kind of in the process of that now. We see here, we lost that 2-day SMA 200, right? It makes sense. The weekly reclaimed the EMA 100. The 2-day was above the SMA 200. We lost that. We're now basing on an EMA 100. And this is, just like how the weekly looks, a bounce zone for Innovix. Bulls want to step in like right here, because what will happen is if we end up losing this, like $10.50, we're now just losing all the major moving averages again, giving us, that EMA 9 rejection wouldn't be good, especially after losing it. So we'd really want this area here to actually hold, because it's lining up nicely with the 9 and the EMA 100. And that's why it should act as a bounce zone. But when we start looking at a lower time frame, it really does look like a bearish retest here. We have the breakout, failed, then a massive deviation that held. We rallied up, rejected that 2-day SMA 200 and even mean line, and now we're just in the process of forming an ugly wick. Granted, there's still 3 hours to go, so that's why I'm more on the side of cautious in this current range. The daily's not looking too good either. We see here that we're just now back under the 9 after full-on testing that $11.91 again. Again, just looking like a bearish retest. So what I really want to see is how this weekly goes, because just like here where we lost that SMA 200 on the 2-day, rallied up and rejected it, I really want to see how that weekly ends up closing, because that potentially could be the setup that we're going to get next week. Maybe this comes down a little bit more. Next week we open up, because maybe we hold the moving averages, so we open up green, only to retest this, giving us that bearish retest. For a visual, something like this, we kind of grind, open up next week, end up rejecting. That's the weekly bearish retest. It looked just like how the 2-day is looking. And granted, this is the bounce zone. So, as long as bulls can just keep holding above the 21 to 34 and the 9, but especially the 9, then, that's okay. It's fine. It's just very concerning when we get these deviations on stocks and crypto. It's never a good sign. They act very predatory, like this was a trap. This last pump up got everyone longing resistance, thinking that this EMA 100 was going to hold. Now it deviated it. We're losing even that, what is this? Oh, it's right here, the drawing tool. Yeah, we're losing now that $11.90 support. So, just like in this whole range, we just have to now look at that as potentially resistance. But this is very choppy. So that's why I'm really trying to just focus on the higher time frames with this, because it's just very choppy. And I guess that's just what you get with this Like it's like a downtrend, but there's not like massive follow throughs with the lows. It's just very interesting to see, but yet there still is nice volatility, I guess, with it. So understanding this range in the chart, I guess, would be a nice thing to trade overall. I wouldn't buy it, invest in this though. You know, and what we see with this monthly, 13 days. Let's see where this monthly closes. You know, we're rejecting that 34, and keep in mind we haven't. There's not a lot of data with it, but we haven't tested that since it started populating back in 2023. This was the first time we hit it, so it made sense that we're now kind of getting some rejection posturing. You know, in my opinion, what bulls really want is to step in, get a monthly closure back above that 21, EMA 21 on the monthly. That'd be a very good sign. And that would be, you know, the area where this Innovix likes to reject from. And it also kind of line up with, you know, the 2-day, the daily reclaiming.
Your SMA 200 on the weekly too. I mean, your EMA 100 on the weekly too.
Yeah, it would mean we're reclaiming some nice levels across the board. So that's why I'm kind of gauging that for like the upside move. We just really want to see that like 21 reclaimed for another retest, at least the 34. And at that point, we could be potentially in a new range then. Ideally like that, you know. I really like Innovix likes to range, so it's just always in a range of a range. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's kind of all I have. It's just more in rejecting posturing, more bearish though, and the trend is still down, and even the quarterly is rejecting that area right at $13. So you know, not a good sign to open up, hit the quarterly 9 and end up projecting, especially after we see here what happened in this quarter of April 2024. We broke above it. That was welcoming. We deviated below it. Now are we opening on a bearish retest? You know, I'm seeing a lot of like higher time frame bearish retests on Innovix, which is interesting to see. I don't know if that's yeah, I just don't know. This is also not a good monthly shooting star. This led to the big deviation, so it makes sense. So we're getting some bounce at this $8.50. You really want that to keep holding though. This has been like a big level for Innovix for a while now. You can see it just keeps getting bounces from this zone. When we do lose it, we do come back down pretty hard. So that's kind of all I have with this chart. Keep watching closely. You really can gauge like the weekly, the 2-day, the 3-day in correlation to this meme line right at $12 with that EMA 100. It's going to be a massive level. You just see each time it's major rejections. This one, we reclaimed it. That's kind of would have been my sign of, okay, like, maybe like we'll just see what happens where this goes. If it does lose the moving averages, that'd be bad. But you can see here after it reclaimed it here, we just fell below, and the 34 and the 21 still acted as support. That's why I'm mentioning here, like on the weekly, it'll be, you know, the same thing. You know, this doesn't necessarily mean it's a death sentence here, like deviating this here. It's not a death sentence. It's just, okay, that's not the best of signs. And especially where we're at now, it's very important that we don't lose this area, because if we do, then in my opinion, that'll be the trigger, especially on a weekly, that we're probably going to come down and test this $8 again. At that point, you know, after testing it so many times, rejecting the zone, and the fact that we're kind of in a macro downtrend, we are, you know, then we have to look at a bigger breakdown, especially with that quarterly 9 still rejecting. So, you know, that's kind of all I have with Innovix. It's just a massive range. It's not looking good. It's not looking like bullish by any means, but it can be. It just has to get back above $13 ideally, and breaking back above 12 will be like my first sign. Okay, maybe this is going to move up. Once it does get like even, once it mainly reclaims that quarterly back above 13, I do think it'll be bull mode again, and I do think that'll be the first time it's ever done that. I do think that $13 is right around my meme line at 12.90. Just good confluence, so we shall see.
The move should be fucking incredible after 3 years of consolidating price within the same fucking range. As extreme as it is, it should be quite powerful.
Who do they sell batteries to?
Huh?
Who do they sell their batteries to?
I don't want to talk out of my ass. It's not like car companies. I don't. I know they do phones. I know they do other sorts of things like that. I'm not saying like Tesla and any of those guys. That's what I don't want to say. So let me look more into it. But I know their batteries last an incredible amount over every other battery that exists, and their product is way beyond anything. Because the guys, I caught someone on a space talking about it. That's why I know about it. because the guy was saying all the stuff that they did, but it was so long ago. I have forgotten and I haven't read about it. And ever since I liked it so much, I'm like, I'm in.
It might be. I guess they might be about to announce something big.
Could be. I think these guys are gonna kill it long term, and especially that dude that was talking in Spaces is someone that always nails it. So it's a long term dude. So I'm still here. I'm all about it. We'll look into it again. I'm sure just once I read it again, I'll be like, oh, this is it. I'll tell you in a second. So Alex, you just did that new holdings.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Like if it can even get a monthly back above $13.30, that could be like a front runnable event to the quarterly, because then the next target for me would be $17, which from there would be pretty sizable percentage wise, 30%. So
yeah,
waiting, sitting on your hands, and not front running probably will be the best move. Playing the trend, it's been pretty easy to short this.
The trend's your friend. Last one for you, Alex. Tiger, TIGR. I don't know if it's Tiger or not, but I think we've looked at it before.
Okay, up fintech holding. Let me see if I have a chart. I do not.
Sure, let's go with that.
Cool.
No. Okay. Aquí tenemos Enovix, damas y caballeros, lo tenemos en la mensual. Lo primero que voy a hacer es ponerle las tablas trimestrales para que puedan ver qué exactamente ha pasado con el precio de Enovix en todo este tiempo. Pueden ver que ha vivido una consolidación brutal desde su inicio, que fue en enero del 2021. Lleva casi 4 años entero consolidando el precio. Eso quiere decir que está rangueando en el mismo lugar. Esto normalmente te da un movimiento muy potente o a la arriba, a la alza o a la baja. Ahorita, para poder nosotros ver si un valor está siendo alcista o bajista, nos gusta siempre tomar el promedio de las 9, y cuando estamos por debajo del promedio de las 9, que lo estamos en este momento, está en 12.90, lo que ahorita, recuerden ese número 12.90 por ahí de los $13, va a traer bastante confluencia al análisis, sobre todo cuando están viendo esta línea. Vamos rápidamente a la visualización mensual, como de que no. Aquí tienen la tabla mensual, puedes ver la vela de acá, ha sido resistencia, tuvimos un fake out a la alza, pero volvimos a cerrar aquí abajo y el precio de Enovix continúa rangueando aquí. Pueden ver que estamos trepando encima del promedio de las 9. Esto es algo bastante bueno. Nos gustaría ver un cierre definitivamente arriba de $12, que también es donde coincidentemente está el promedio de las 21 en esta zona. Ahora, si solamente estamos viendo teoría de vela, estamos viendo ¿qué, señores? Para todos ustedes que saben, altos más bajos. ¡Wow! Gracias, computadora. Un segundo. Ahí está. Y altos más bajos. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que estamos buscando ahorita? Porque habíamos creado estos bajos y estos bajos más bajos, pero aquí empezamos a crear bajos más altos. Lo que creemos es que esto puede estar confirmándonos, y lo haría después, no ahorita, que muy probablemente, un segundo, no sé cómo pasó esto, ahí está, que muy probablemente estamos formando estructura alcista. ¿Qué necesitamos para saber que ese es el caso? Sencillo, nos vamos a la semanal y lo vamos a hacer más grande acá para todos ustedes para que lo puedan ver de cerca. Queremos cerrar encima de los 12 definitivamente, 12.17. Aquí tenemos el promedio de la 100 y hemos visto cómo, y voy a quitar todos los demás para que lo puedan ver perfectamente. Han visto cómo el promedio de la 100 desde que empezó a popular ha sido rechazado, una desviación, rechazado, una desviación, y ahora estamos siendo rechazados. Lo que no queremos, o lo que la gente que es alcista en Enovix no quiere, es que esto sea un rechazo y una mandada para abajo y barrer estos bajos. Si barres estos bajos, vas a ir probablemente a buscar estos en los 5.77 o en los 6.26, dependiendo de cómo tomes tú tus bajos. A mí me gusta el número del 6.46, es un buen rango. Pero, ¿qué nos cambiaría de opinión? ¿Qué nos haría ver esto de otra forma? Bastante sencillo, damas y caballeros. Espérenme. Ahí lo tienes. Siempre y cuando estemos ahora sí que cerrando encima de los $12, nada está perdido. Está bien ranguear acá y no perder este nivel de los 10.51, $11. Si perdemos esta zona de los $11, y lo pueden ver en la semanal, perderíamos el promedio de las 9, el 21, el 55, todo de un golpe, además de que el 100 ya nos rechazó, y eso probablemente nos confirme que va a haber un movimiento a la baja. Y ahora la volatilidad va para abajo en esto, lo que está preparando para el siguiente movimiento potente. En la diaria, aún hay más confluencia con la zona de los $12, donde está el promedio de las 9. Queremos en 2 horas 53 minutos poder cerrar por encima para no tener 1, 2, 3 cierres abajo del promedio de la 9 y empezar a poner objetivos aquí, en esta zona donde está esta línea meme, en los 10.67. De nuevo, oportunidades de long por acá y yo los cortaría bajando de este mínimo de los 10.50 y no hay oportunidades de short para nada. A menos de que vengas a retestear esta zona una vez más, la de los 10.68, una vez que el precio caiga, ¿no? Que el precio haga ble, 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 ble. Va a venir a retestear esto. Aquí es donde haces un short y lo tira. Y simplemente pones a este nivel de los 10.85 como tu invalidación al mismo. Pero ahí lo tienen. Enovix se ve, está en una zona 2-3. Tenemos que asegurarnos, empezar a tener cierres arriba de $12, sobre todo hoy poder cerrar arriba del 9. Y queremos seguir viendo eso. Queremos asegurarnos que esto no sea una desviación y que sea exactamente la continuación de una nueva tendencia alcista que empezó de acá a acá. Eso es lo que nos gustaría ver en Enovix, damas y caballeros, a todos los que somos alcistas. En el valor, vale, New Holdings.
New holdings.
By the way, Bitcoin almost touched fucking $69,000. What a fucking cock tease.
It went up to like 68.8, right?
It was 16.89. That's what I had. It's at 68.865 right now. Salami's touched 156.
All right, so we're gonna do the monthly on new holdings. Right now, it went down to the 50%, and the came close to hitting the 9 EMA, but it kind of front ran it, and then it bounced back, and now it's over the 5 EMA, and it's over the 38.2%. As long as it closes over the 38.2% like this, we're gonna have a very high probability of going up to the top 38.2%. Right now, that number is sitting somewhere at $17.57. That would be a pretty decent move. That would be about like 21% up from where we are now. Let's check our HPR momentum. HPR momentum is starting to flip up from pretty low levels within close to the bearish control zone. Volatility is about to start ticking up too. So that would give me a bias that we probably hit the 50% above the 38.2%. That's only like 30 cents above. It's instead of $17.57, it's $17.87. Possibly, if we don't find much resistance there and volatility is somewhere below, like let's say 80%, and we've hit the 50%, then we could probably hit the 61.8, but it's lower probability, and that number is sitting at $18.89. It is lower probability to happen in this move. Weekly HPR momentum is flipping up as well. Volatility is still sideways though. That gives us a probability of hitting the median. Median is currently sitting a little bit higher than price right now. That's $15.71. It doesn't tell you if we're going to break it or not. What gives me a bias that we will break it is that volatility is still very low. So once that flips up, we're going to have around 50% or more to go before volatility is topped out. That tells me we can probably hit this top 38.2%, which is right at $16.98. 5 days doing the same thing where momentum is up, volatility is down. We have not yet hit the median. The median would be the statistical target. That's at $15.04. 2 days, same thing, but 2 day has volatility supporting it to the upside. So it's currently over the median. We've retested it, and now we're basing off the median and moving up. And volatility is supporting that move up. So that would give us a target with volatility support at the 61.8%, which is currently at just over $15, at $15.30.
That's all-time highs, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Daily is flipping back up as well, re-entering the bullish critical zone, and volatility is still flipped up to support it. That would tell us, and since we're at just about to break over the 61.8, if we close over $14.33, that makes it much more likely with volatility not anywhere near the extreme levels, that we could probably go up to this 88.3%, which is also that $15.26. Right next to that previous number, we got a $15.30. Let's check the RSI. Nothing on quarterly. All right, so weekly is about to put in a third drive of bullish divergence right here, or fourth actually, one, two, third drive of bullish divergence at this middle zone, hidden bullish divergence, and volatility has completely reset. Well, not really completely reset, but it's at 50%. So we're volatility is starting to tick up, and now that it's above the moving average is at 50%, volatility is at 51%. So once this confirms, that'll give us a target of this bottom bullish control zone. But since volatility is only at 50%, it's more likely that we go to the bullish critical zone. Right now, the bullish control zone is at $16.77. Bullish critical zone is $29.40. This is going to take a couple of weeks to play out. So this number very likely does move down. But as of right now, it's at $29.40. 5-day has already confirmed multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence. 1, 2, 3, 4 drives right at this middle zone. So that gives us volatility is expanding from very low levels. It started from around less than 10%. Now we're at 47%. So we still have about 50% more to go, 52% more to go before it tops out. So that very likely we could hit that bullish critical zone. And that number right now is at $27.40.
I said, goddamn.
No, I didn't hear.
Fuck.
3-day has confirmed bullish divergence right at the edge of the bullish control zone. So very likely on the next type around, we break it, and volatility is so low that we probably go to the bullish critical zone, $24.34. So on the shorter terms, I'm seeing momentum starting to flip back around. And on the longer terms, I'm seeing the divergences, and I'm guessing it probably starts to play out anytime within the next couple of days. And I would expect us to hit somewhere in that mid to low $20 number.
Yeah, so just a little bit of consolidation around the area of 14, above 1430, basically, going sideways a little bit and then pushing up to those new highs, breaking the first. It's got to break the $15 one, then it's going to 1630, and then to the 24. We can put our next target.
Yeah.
All right, not too bad, not too bad. So what you're saying is I should buy new holdings just like Warren Buffett did. That fucking cocksucker. Either way, he's a great guy. I'll be right back, guys. This is what my wife deals with. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everyone, by the way, because y'all fucking paying attention too, whoever's listening. Vale, pues. Estamos viendo New Holdings que lleva cotizando justamente desde diciembre del 2021, pero pudimos romper esos altos históricos en New Holdings cuando fue en este año, en enero del 2024. Bien por nosotros. Vamos a poner básicamente, no necesito 34, tampoco el 5, los demás sí. Ok. Ahí lo tienen. Estos son los promedios que están populando. Lo que estamos viendo es, en altas temporalidades, hay demasiada fuerza y la volatilidad apoyando al movimiento para decir que vamos a continuar esta trayectoria alcista que tiene el precio. Lo puedes ver en la semanal tal cual, estás por encima del promedio de las 9. Simplemente quieres cerrar arriba de 14.30 el día de hoy y quedarte por aquí consolidando. Es lo que estamos esperando que pase en la diaria, que estemos consolidando por esta zona, básicamente aguantar esta zona por acá en los 14.30 y eso nos va a poder llevar a romper la zona de los 15, que es básicamente esta zona. Una vez que rompamos la zona de las 15, tengamos confirmación, de nuevo, la volatilidad y el momentum en diferentes temporalidades están apoyando que esto nos podría llevar al siguiente objetivo de los 15.30, que no está tan arriba, es simplemente acá, desde donde está el precio en este momento, a 15.30, es casi un 6,5%, bastante saludable. Y de ahí, después de poder tener cierres arriba de 15.30, importante 15.30, podemos ver esto extendiéndose hasta los 20 cacho. Obviamente no va a pasar todo de golpe, estamos viendo gráficos trimestrales y mensuales, lo que nos dice que esto a través del tiempo va a continuar su uptrend, pero viene un poco de consolidación en la diaria y luego en la semanal empieza a empujar junto con la mensual y la trimestral a nuevos récords históricos. All righty. What is this? Tiger Uptake Financial Limited?
Yeah, this is I don't even know. Okay. So this chart's kind of
We already did this, by the way.
like, yeah, I had to chart it fresh, so I think Farin did it.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's just go here. So I mean, the quarterly, it was a welcoming sign that, you know, we did reclaim the quarterly 9. Now it would have been like your sign of, oh, okay, like this is changing. You know, that's never happened really in a very long time. You know, and that's kind of why we got the expansion, except this is turning into a very disgusting wick. So bulls need to start stepping in very soon, or else this quarterly in 2 months could get very ugly. You know, keep in mind, like, this is insane. From where we're at, this dumped 50%. And it wasn't like, it was very quick too. You know, pumped up and then just dumped. So what I'm watching for Tiger is very simple. All eyes on the 2 week. We have a fresh 2 week silver cross. This has never happened before, simply because even on this pump, we had a silver cross on the weekly, but the 55 wasn't populated enough. You know, so we didn't cross it. And so we have officially done that now. So I'm watching, basically, in summary, I'm watching this zone right now where we're at to get a bounce, or simply getting this 2 week EMA 9 bounce at $6. I do think if we can hold $6, you know, despite how terrible this candle is and how big this dump is, I still think that it's not okay. It just would be welcoming. You know, you have to remind yourself when you're getting these kind of dumps and pumps, it's not healthy and it's highly manipulated, and it's just not what you want to see. Like, when you're feeling these inefficiencies immediately and then dumping, it's just not good, because now we've filled it, you know, and now we're almost back to where we were when we pumped. This went all the way up to $14.50, and now is at $7.24 again. So, you know, it shaved off 50%. I'd be very cautious with this chart. I wouldn't be like degenning this, but, you know, for what it is and what I see, I do think that 2 week 9 will get a bounce zone. I mean, it lines up with that EMA 100, that meme line, which was active resistance in this range before breaking out. So it makes sense to come down and retest it, solidifying the silver cross on the 2 week. You know, on the flip side, though, I think we could potentially even bounce now. As we see here, you know, we're almost to that weekly 9, and we do see here, just like the 2 week, we actually do have a silver cross here as well. So, you know, I do think it's approaching a bounce zone. It's going to be very interesting to see where this weekly closes. You know, bulls ideally want this 724 to hold. This acts as a front run. This steps up, meeting price. Then potentially we could be in a new range, you know, a big range, but a new one, you know, at $7 and all at support and $14 at resistance. You know, when we're above the $7 zone, you know, big moves happen. There's not a lot of data on this chart, but big moves happen up and down. And so that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of where we're back testing now. That's why I think it's wise to gauge the weekly, gauge the 2 week, understand there's a silver cross to the upside. But, you know, this is a highly just like, it's looking like a pump and dump. But for now, you know, structure is still there. Bulls are still stepping in slightly. You know, we're just kind of in the middle of this big range. It's hard to find, like, you know, it was hard for me to chart this because it's just on like the higher time frames, you're not really dealing with a lot. You know, just big moves up and down. So, you know, I'm taking it for what I have, and this is literally what I have. We're on a massive point of, we do end up reclaiming that 725. Then we could possibly get a bigger move up, filling some of this wick. But, you know, it's just never a good sign when you get this fat rejection, because if this ends up turning red, this will be like one of the ugliest candles that this chart has had. Massive wick body with an ugly, girthy red, candle coming down, looking very heavy. But for now, right, that's why I'm gauging the weekly. It's still looking okay. We just want it to bounce here. If it doesn't, then yeah, I mean, we easily can come back to $4. And at that point, I mean, that's shaving off like what, close to like 30% from here. It's just something I wouldn't want to hold. And that's why, it's either going to bounce here or at that 2-week 9, or it's just not going to bounce. This is just going to be a massive pump and dump, and it's probably going to go back down to that $4, if not lower, because it took out the liquidity now to $2. That's all I have with this chart. It's not looking good. There's some opium, of course, but we really want to see like bulls kind of step in here soon. I forgot too, the 2-week is closing, so what would be nice is, yeah, if we could just get a 2-week above $7.26. Maybe then on the next weekly or 2-week, we open up a little more red and then to actually test the 9, making a nice spring with the wick, and then we're going up again. It's kind of the only hopium scenario I have. Bears are going to try to push this down, and they're going to try to lose this $6. If we end up losing this $6, probably a chance we've lost this 2-week EMA 100, 2-week 9, and then that has implications for a bad quarterly incoming. So it's really all I have with this. It's a massive pump up, and it is welcoming to see the quarterly reclaiming the 9, but it's just not the healthiest sign. So I mean, again, we easily can come down, still okay. I just want to see where this weekly and 2-week closes, because let's say it closes bad on the 2-week and weekly and we still keep coming down, I'm still liking that confluence right at that $4 and $5, where if we end up losing it, I do think that we can go up and test that right in this zone here. So at that point, that'll be the last stand, because that'll be basically the monthly's testing resistance fully. This was the 34's major resistance on this chart. So we come back down, it'll look terrible. But if we can just close above it, I mean, implications, but then, it's just the way this candle looks. It's just hard to trade off technicals with this chart, because it just seems very scammy. It's like a shit coin, but I don't know what they do. That's all I see. Let's just hope that 2-week actually can go somewhere with that silver cross, because it'll be interesting to see that. I mean, this was a pretty big pump up of 235% in a 2-week candle, so it makes sense for coming down. Let's just see if we can find some support around this zone here. If not, we're probably going to come back down to $4 or $4.50.
Yes, indeed, sir. We're basically done. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
No, it's saying like to stay in the studio. Do you want us to stay here, or can we just hop out?
No,
Okay,
you
cool.
can hop. You can
Awesome.
hop the fuck out, son.
Cool. Yeah, no, very
All right.
smooth. You have a good weekend.
No,
Nice.
you
Have a good
too.
weekend,
Enjoy
folks.
Formula One right now, FP1, and then qualifying for everyone that's watching and cares. All righty. I'll see you soon. Thank you, guys. See you on the chat. Ok, aquí tenemos Tiger, que es Up Fintech Holdings Limited. Y acá podemos ver, estamos en una gráfica trimestral. Vean esta gráfica tan horrenda. Estas son muy difíciles de leer, honestamente, porque hay muy pocos datos y son muy extremos. No hay un patrón de absolutamente nada todavía formado. Y cuanto menos información tengamos, peor, obviamente, para todo. Pueden ver que literalmente esto viene de, o sea, está diciendo que hay volatilidad extrema hasta acá y acabó, y ahora la volatilidad está en 52%, lo que no se ve absolutamente nada bien, no te deja pensar en qué puede pasar, pero bueno, podemos notar rápidamente en la trimestral que estamos por encima del promedio de la 9 por primera vez, digo, aquí lo pudimos tomar y ahora estamos totalmente por encima. Esto es algo que no queremos perder. No queremos perder el 5.22 en 2 meses y 14 días. Este sería el cierre de esta vela. Si lo pierdes, esta vela sería una vela de tope muy, muy potente y pues bueno, tendría consecuencias demasiado negativas. Entonces no quieres perder la zona de los 5.26 en la trimestral. Vámonos rápidamente a la mensual. En la mensual estás por encima del 9, el 9 está por encima del 21, que es bastante bueno, nos indica fuerza y pueden ver el velazo que se dio. Estás hablando de una vela de 50% solamente en la parte delgada, de tamaño a la baja. Y tenemos un poco de confluencia con el promedio de la 55 que se encuentra en la zona de los 605. Básicamente, en esta temporalidad mensual no quieres perder el 605. Es un nivel que quieres completamente aguantar. Nos vamos a acercar un poco más, meter la de 2 semanas. En la de 2 semanas pueden ver ya un poco más la historia más desarrollada. Tienes un cruce plateado fresco, fresco, fresco en la parte de abajo. Si lo pueden ver acá rápidamente. Aquí está. Un segundo. Ah, eh, ok. Acá tenemos un cruce plateado y pueden ver que el precio llegó a tocar los 14.28. ¿De dónde viene esa línea? Viene de acá, de este retesteo, y luego acá el intercambio, el rechazo y el soporte, soporte, soporte. Entonces, este es un nivel bastante importante para el precio de esta cosa. ¿Qué es lo que no queremos? Definitivamente en 2 semanas no queremos cerrar abajo de $6. Entonces, mínimo en temporalidades más cortas, y justamente el 9 está en 6.42, diríamos que es eso. No queremos cerrar abajo el 6.42 en esta semana, que es básicamente en 2 horas 32 minutos. Lo bueno es que el precio está en 7.26 en este momento y eso es bueno. Lo que queremos es que pueda aguantar en esta zona y a ver si podemos a corto plazo en el próximo abierto mínimo consolidar en esta zona para traer los promedios para abajo y para arriba y poder seguir empujando a la alza. ¿Dónde nos perdemos por completo? Pierdes el nivel de los 7, después de ahí tu nivel son los 6. Si pierdes el nivel de los 6, dile adiós a todo y va para abajo. Pero siempre y cuando se mantenga encima del 7, bien, encima del 6, aún mejor. Y no perder esos niveles. Pierdes esos niveles, no se va a ver bien la cosa y puedes ver el por qué, porque ya estamos perdiendo el promedio de las 9 justamente en la diaria y queremos que no sea una desviación el movimiento, queremos que sea algo que nos lleve para arriba. Aunque si eres bajista y tal cual, pueden ver esto. O sea, ha estado en extremos por tanto tiempo y ahora esto va a bajar. No, no pinta bien, honestamente, este gráfico de Tiger. Vamos a ver si puede aguantar los $6, que es lo más importante. Esta línea meme se me hace a mí muy importante, 5.82, 5.80. Perdiendo esto, pues esperemos a ver nuevos mínimos. Pero sí, muy difícil tradear este tipo de gráficos. Y, damas y caballeros, eso fue todo hoy. El Casino del Tío Salo. Tenemos Fórmula 1 en este momento. Pónganse listos, pónganse vivos. Y les mando un fuerte abrazo. Cuídense mucho y muy feliz viernes a todos ustedes.